because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Na hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning on this wet and rainy Monday morning, and here we are looking at really the only thing that's packing a punch is the rain today. In terms of traffic, I don't think we'll see much of it today except when we slow down to avoid those pools of water. All right, here and there, you're going to be free getting into the city, whether it is you're coming off the Thika Superhighway or coming off Mombasa Road. Ngong Road also looking pretty good. As you're coming out of Westlands, really very little in terms of traffic or what's happening on these streets. We're likely to see just the same throughout the morning. But what we will do is keep an eye on things and see where things might pop off, just in case they do. We'll be here to look through it, and you can also help us out here too. We'll talk through it all on Spice FM KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Jamhuri Kenya yetu. Aya sisi zote wananchi tushangilie. Kenya asangavele araisi moi. City.
Yes, please.
Vipi?
Fiti bwana.
Umekuja na miche tukapande.
Mimi? Mimi nilikwambia bwana hii si shida. Nikitoka hapa, trees everywhere baba. Unaenda unanunua moja na unapanda. Me I'm not stressed.
About climbing.
There we go.
What I meant to say was
about
why is climbing in my head? About planting.
That's the spirit. She's spiritly here.
Sheesh.
Hey.
Apana.
Yeah?
Let it go.
Sawa. Ngabo uko tayari kupanda miti? Ndio.
You see why that confuses me about planting trees. Yes, I'm actually going to plant a tree with kids today. I will. We will plant a tree.
You'll plant a tree?
Yes.
Very good. It's important. We'll plant trees.
Yeah.
Habari kila mtu, leo ni hila siku, tumesema tunapanda miti. 100 million is the target.
They said they'll do 150.
150?
I'm telling you, today, that's the plan.
150
million trees they'll plant today.
It's a good plan.
So no?
Yes.
If you actually can plant those trees and then they grow,
yeah,
that would be a good thing.
No, it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
Not at all.
Yes, trees must be planted.
Tupande mti na tunyunyizie maji.
Hiyo inakuwa mzuri sana.
Hata Edna amesema ukipanda tu mti na usinyunyuzie maji, hiyo mti inakufa.
Edna amesema hivyo?
Okay. Sindio Edna? Yeah, panda mti, nyunyuzia maji. Ndio mti ikue. Yeah. Everybody, good morning. Welcome to Monday, the 13th of November 2021.
It is, eh?
Kesho mafuta inapanda by 20 bob. So weka mafuta leo.
We're heading towards 500.
Yes.
City just says, take that number, multiply by 2, add a thing or two on top.
Because I do not see, unless someone can tell me how it is,
that things will be different.
Yeah, the only thing that they will realize is you just keep rising. More and more people are simply not going to drive. So the money you think you're going to raise, you won't raise. You're actually better off lowering the price so that more people can actually fuel, so you make money on the volume. But this one of you think that you raise the price, watu watalipa, hakuna. Already watu hawatumii magari vile wanapendaga kutumia magari.
Mzee anasema nini?
Every once in a while, I must act my age. I'm allowed to mumble.
For me, it's when he pushes the mic aside and now continues. Wow, that's the winner. Everyone.
Acting my age.
Where is he going? Okay.
Old men are allowed to mumble.
I am So let me tell you what we'll be discussing today. We'll have a full show. At 7 a.m. we'll be joined by Professor Alfred Omenya. Professor Alfred Omenya is an architect and urban planning expert. He'll be here to talk to us about the role of citizens in these tough economic times. And then at 8 a.m. we'll be joined by Philip Kisia. He's a governance and leadership expert and a former town clerk of the city of Nairobi. The State of the Nation 2023, the address, hits and misses. And then Mwalimu Mutemi Wakema joins us at 9 a.m. He is the community organizer for the Kongamano la Mapinduzi initiative, why Africa's leadership is largely failing or has largely failed. That's 9 a.m. Wewe uko wapi? Wewe uko online? If you're online, let us know where you are locked in from. And then shortly after Ndu tells us which part of the country is not raining, then we will do like that. Sawa, tupatie weather ya pale Q. Mahali tunaenda kupanda miti.
Ndio wapo huko ndani. Kweni?
Sawa.
Aye.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Raining in Nairobi, cloudy through the day, 17 degrees, highs of 22 and lows of 16. It's raining as well in Nakuru at 16, highs of 22, and we'll see highs of 22 in Nyeri, where the rain is coming down as well. Partly cloudy entering into a morning of rain as well. Eldoret will see highs of 22 and lows of 14. We'll have partly sunny conditions at 25 in Mombasa with highs of 31, and Malindi will be cloudy. It is now, and droplets coming through, highs of 31 and lows of 25. Okay, looking into a cloudy Kisumu at 21, highs of 28. Another place where it is raining, Kakamega at 17, highs of 27 and lows of 15. Heavy rain in Kampala at 19, highs of 26, and it's partly sunny at 24 in Dar es Salaam with highs of 30 through Monday. We're looking into partly cloudy Johannesburg at 14 with highs of 27 and lows of 13. Mogadishu is sunny at 24, highs of 31. Addis Ababa clear at 10 with highs of 22. And we're looking into a partly cloudy Lagos at 26 with highs of 32. Beijing 4 degrees and partly sunny Monday afternoon with highs of 7 and lows of -3. It is 12 degrees and partly cloudy in Paris, highs of 17. Heavy rain this morning in London at 11 with highs of 16, and it's clear at 4 Sunday night in New York. Coming into Monday, highs of 8 and lows of 0.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice.
Angor. I want to understand how beautiful these hills of Trans Nzoia actually are. Are they a thing? They are.
Where?
They are. Yeah. Wow. I want to see. But that's where Angor is watching us from and says greetings.
Cherangani.
All right. She says the beautiful hills of Saboti in Trans Nzoia, Kitale. Kusalimia. Alex Mnai says good morning, people locked in from Lucille. Hi, the great CT Eric, and a typo error. $1 million shilling service charge in Malawi. You need to learn how to use punctuation, Don, because you're confusing me. $1 million shilling service charge. There should be a period there. Then he goes on to say really quickly, in Malawi we say year is Chaka. We got that. This year is Chaka Chino. Next year is Chaka Chamwala. Chaka Chamawa. Last year is Chaka Chava. Every year is Chaka Chili. So the taker home from this statement is that year is Chaka. Good morning.
All right.
Robert Umogo says good morning. Happy Monday from Mombasa. Assalamu alaikum CT Eric and Habibti Ndu. Soulful says good morning from a cooler Abu Dhabi. Yeah, temperatures have been crazy. Samuel Moiro says hoi, good morning from the Netherlands. Good morning to you. Masharia and Jerry says, good morning, team. Watching from Portland, Oregon. If you cut one tree, una panda tattoo. Miss Kia.
Yes.
Cut one tree, replace it with 3.
Climb 3.
Yes. Isaac Babji says, good morning. Ndu CT Eric and Ndu. Watch a CC to panda miti kwa app. Bana. Do the real thing. Sir George Gashoiri says, good morning, Ndu City Eric. Amaya Okeo tuning from Nakuru, looking forward to a great conversation. Desmond O.T. says, good morning. In case we are in case they are present, welcome to all another day in Kenya. Geoffrey Mogaka, sorry. Good morning, my people, getting you loud and clear from Pipeline, Nairobi. Sijapata. Yeah, imagine Rhoda. It's Kara. It's climbing. Yes, it is. Charles Dongo says good morning to the most favorite triple radio hosts. A new day to plant trees, watching from Kuwait and looking forward to a great week ahead, and you will have one. Fred Otieno says good morning, tuning from South Korea. John Waweru is also here and says the level and publicity and advertisement on Panda Miti Day was in all areas of government. We would be able to do the same what's up with Dubai.
Hiya.
If the level of publicity and advertisement on Panda Miti was in all areas of government, we would be the same level as Dubai. All right, good morning, my people. Greetings from the beautiful, yes, watching live from Blue Ridge Parkway. The show is a fresh breath of air for all of us in diaspora. Good morning to you. Dave says, Olet Kamilek rather says, good morning to you, tuned in. Dedan Commander is tuning from Baltimore, Maryland. Good morning, Team Spice. CT Ndu and Latif tuning from Riyadh. Patrick Mboros says good morning. Atanas Achochi says good morning from Minnesota. Sabal Khair from Dubai. Weather is good. Yes, everybody's saying the weather is good in the Middle East. I've been called Atieno. Why? Kiroro Peter says, good morning, lady and gentlemen. Burora is bear. Buore is bear.
Buore
Buore is
is Nairobi.
Nairobi.
Yeah.
Oh.
Nairobi Buore. That's what it's called.
Oh.
Buore.
Then
What
he
does
says
Buore
is-
mean?
I'm actually not really sure.
Oh.
But it's the nickname that,
Nairobi's been given.
yes,
Is bear is good.
that
Voilà.
is good, yes.
Okay, so Joe Mbu is here as well, tuning from Baltimore. James Gakio also says good morning. Many people waking up early, even when they don't have to.
Safi. City. Where to this week?
Just next door to Republic du Congo.
All righty.
We are in DRC. That's literally next door. Right.
Here we go.
Here we go. Woe
Why
to
are we
the
saying
high-spirited bride whose mother-in-law is still alive.
Guy.
Then
Woe to the
I'm going to
high-spirited bride whose mother-in-law is still alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a triple proverb. First
Jesus.
of all, you high-spirited Are we saying that you should relax? Number 2, a mother-in-law's a thing. And number 3, those mother-in-laws being a thing, it comes with woe.
Kabsa?
Wololo.
Yes.
It is a wololo situation.
Yes, that is where the English found that word. It was wololo. and they abbreviated it to woe.
Woe. It was actually wololo.
Wololo, yes.
These Jaluos are onto something.
Actually, the English borrowed a lot of words from the Luo, right?
Kabsa?
Wololo.
Wololo, yes.
Match stick is match.
Yes.
Many words.
Very, very many. Many.
English na Kijaluo. Same was up. Higher headlines.
On the front page of the Standard this morning, cost of living will derail dialogue. If you want us to start doing smesme, bring in this cost of living. We're trying to finish. Co-chair Kalonzo Musyoka and DAP's Eugene Wamalwa have said the team is finalizing its report from today and should the recommendations to make life affordable not be factored in, then Azimio will reject the report, thus throwing the talks into disarray. If you people don't put it, we're not going to accept it. Our friend Tundulisu is on the front page of the Standard. He's talking about why Raila is no longer a darling among Tanzanians. Now, this could be a broad statement, but he said specifically...
Is that a Paul or it's him? The him, the Tanzania.
He was. When you read the story, he talks then about the Tanzanian opposition.
Okay.
So it's not all Tanzanians.
Okay.
And he gives his reasons as to why. Well, look at that. KRA workers, the irony of it all is that they said we're being paid really poorly. Number one, we cannot make rent. We cannot make a lot of things. So, KRA workers are thinking about picketing. Yeah. So the plan in top gear to plant 150 million trees today. That's why we're here, Mama. Indians celebrate Diwali in style. I think it's millions of Asians, not just Indians. On the front page of The Nation, the return of Raila. Where did he go? Somewhere.
Return of Mac.
Apparently. After months of silence, because he's silent. Azimio leader Raila Odinga has made a comeback into the political scene and is now spoiling for a fight with President William Ruto's administration. He has vowed to release a damning dossier. Dun, 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 dun. I like this kind of thing. On the government-to-government oil deal, and has launched a national registration drive to strengthen his party, even as he hints at making a sixth stab at the presidency. This week is going to be moto hot.
So he has said he's going to release.
Damning dossier number 1.
When?
In the future.
Tunataka kujua bwana ndio tukue ready.
Oh, you're ready to
what time are we? Yes.
Yeah, I'll tell you those details.
Or is it condition? If you don't do something, I will release.
No, we're going to release anyway.
Okay.
Don't worry. Ruto leads the country national tree planting drive. That's happening today. People are up, crack of dawn like this. In fact, it's raining. God has said, take water, plant trees, let's go. It's happening. Makueni County is the epicenter for the thing. And then
it's the place.
It's the place. Things now will be happening. I wonder if they got all the seedlings that they needed and where you can go to get the thing done.
Okay.
Well, let's see. Heads are saying, you people, Ministry of Education. How many times did I call your name? Send money early, send money early. Please, let's not enter January and then we start shouting. Send money early. That's the headline. Education. Send money,
Hiya, Buana. Let me tell you what's in the Business Daily. Blackout, nationwide blackout. When?
Saturday night.
For how many hours?
4 in some parts, up to 6 and 8 in others.
Remember engineer Dr. Joseph Siror when he was here, and we asked him what causes these things, and he explained it to us like slowly. We have one national grid that is 8 times the circumference of the earth through the equator, blah blah blah, long thing like that. So when there's an issue once, it can destabilize the whole thing, so the whole system goes off, right? So obviously when you see a blackout, there's an issue.
Well,
maybe do that one round. 1, 2 issue.
So what it has done now, it has shut down the system so that it protects. Okay. Now he's explaining that this particular issue was loss of a transmission line that interlinked two major generation stations at Olkaria.
Same this one Olkaria.
Up Olkaria, there was one of those generation for the Otamo.
Thingamajigs.
Yes, right? Something
Kaspak.
like a spark. Kuspark hivi. Sasa system iko shut down.
Yes, ili kuzuia
kuzuia
Safety.
mnyonyoko wa udongo.
Yeah.
So now they had to go and find out sasa ni gani.
Where kwa hii
Ni
line.
gani?
And
Then they identified it, they fixed it. So it's not clear whether this broken jumper broke because it was old, broke because
Maji
ya
kwa
maji
mingi.
iliingia, broke because nyani ilikanyanga. No, they still haven't established that or they haven't told us. Okay. But now this one, in 3 months, the same kind of thing happened in Loyangalani. Sijui blackout. Now this one again, blackout. So now, surely, what is the solution? What's the way going forward? That's a headline in the Business Daily. Olkaria hitch plunges Kenya into 5th blackout in 3 years. Other headline, IMF tax measures have handed Ruto 19.4% revenue increase in October. The receipts rose by nearly a fifth to hit 170 billion in October compared to a similar period last year as the Ruto administration started reaping the benefits of increased taxation under IMF-backed measures. IMF are milking us and telling Ruto, see? Hii ng'ombe iko na maziwa.
After all, tuko nayo.
KRA collected 170 billion shillings in tax revenue for the month, a 19.42% growth over 42 billion in a month a year ago. Ticker headlines, more Kenyans to work remotely, according to Focus, and Safaricom now controls 273 billion shillings in M-Pesa funds. Safaricom customers are holding 273 billion shillings in deposits in its mobile service M-Pesa, making the telco one of the largest players in the financial services market. 273 billion shillings umeweka kwa M-Pesa. What?
Weka kwa benki.
Yeah. Bond sellers suffer steep discounts as interest rates rise. Bond traders at the NSE have continued to mark sharp losses as interest rates continue to rise unabated. Yeah, and then they have a feature on Professor Everett Stander.
That man taught me.
Professor Everett Stander taught you?
He did.
He oversaw one of the largest expansions of universities in Kenya as head of Quality Standards Agency. Alifunza, eh?
Alifundisha.
Very good. At a university?
He did.
Good. She's done. Death has muted the voice of
A very
who was
pleasant
once
fellow.
KU Vice Chancellor.
Very, very pleasant fellow.
Hi, tell us what's on the Star.
Sita, top right-hand corner in teal green, inside Ruto's palace coups and rise to power. There's a story on page 415. There is a book, a new book that has come about, Close Shave. This is the life of William Ruto. By the author, the person who's written it, is called Peter Thatia. Okay? Yes, it talks about how Ruto, in every political battle, he has been underestimated by political opponents, how he has triumphed against his opponents, and how the friendship of Ruto and Uhuru blossomed in the early days when they were both young men, etc., etc., etc. If you want to know more, buy the book and read it. Okay? So, have I said something
No,
wrong?
not at all.
Okay, let's continue. Bail proposes tougher rules for betting firms and gamblers. This is a story on page 8. Those who are given to tinkering with fortune, you have been told there is a new bill. It imposes 15% tax on gross gambling revenue and a monthly gambling levy. So you gamble, you're going to be gambling at 15%.
Gamble too.
Yes. Kalonzo, I am ready to become president in 2027. I thought he was ready before. But anyway,
Sure.
the story now, 2027,
This
that
one
was
I'll
the
be
past.
Okay.
Okay, this is politics. Quotes. Moi's name dragged into DP's fight for 1.5 billion city land. This story involves a gentleman, the former director of physical planning, the ministry, land ministry, called John Ohas. There's land that he says was given to him by the president actually bequeathed him that land. But this same land, deputy president also says it is his.
Which deputy president?
This one, this current one.
Regarding
says it is his. So
he was also given by Moi.
The details of who gave who begins with us getting the land.
No, he gave me. Okay.
No. Okay, so who did he give? Me, I acquired it, honestly. In fact, I acquired it. How did you acquire it?
Honestly,
how else do you think land is acquired? He said, this thing is going around in too many circles. So go to court. So they're in court. Okay? Now, this gentleman called Ohas is not in his first youth. He's actually 81 years old. Long retired.
Where is the land?
It's in town, up, town, up.
CBD?
Yes, here, town. It's in Nairobi.
How big is it? How big is the land? Okay, you read the story then and tell us traffic, and then we'll get the details of this particular piece of land.
Actually, it's here. It's on Mombasa.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, not much of that this morning. The rain is still coming down. Maybe we'll see slower movement as folks trying to get from point A to point B. But really, you'll be fine coming off Thika Superhighway. You'll be fine coming off of Waiyaki Way and also Mombasa Road. Feeding into Mombasa Road is Langata Road. It's also on the other side, Lusaka Road. But here, I think we'll be all right, really, through today. And we're keeping an eye on things through the morning, just in case. Let's talk on Spice FM, KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
I thought you were telling us a story about this land that's just here in Mombasa.
Yes. It is actually here in Mombasa. It's on Mombasa Road. You know, the land, for instance, where our headquarters sits, this one here, okay? The size of this land, this whole strip as we move along, the size of more or less the same. So I looked and read, but it doesn't specify where. It just gives you a LR number. Now that is as good as telling me it's in the sky. I can't tell. I'm sure the people who know how to read LR language will tell you. So it must be one of these pieces of land that is here.
Okay.
Yes, but both of them registered the land in the names of their companies, okay? One is called Columbus 2000 Limited. That is a company that was owned where this gentleman called Ohas is a director. And then the deputy president also has his own kambun, okay? And this kambun is called Wamunyoro Investment Limited. Wamunyoro Investment Limited.
Right.
Yes. So there are all these stories, the accusations that Mr. Ohas tampered with details at the land ministry because he was there, and in tampering, the allegation that he then bequeathed himself this land. Yeah. But I'm sure we'll get to the end of it at some point, and when we do, we'll tell you how exactly that has turned out.
The courts will determine.
That's the moment things can't be determined easily, you go to court.
Yeah, the real Wamunyoro needs to come out. Okay.
So, we know cost of living, if it is not included, then sorry, we're not doing. So that's all happening. Let's take a look at what's going on at Times Towers. Times Towers houses what?
Get it.
Thank you. The Kenya Revenue Authority. Civil servants, as civil servants, human rights groups, the clergy, opposition politicians, and even Kenyans online continue to raise concerns over the rising cost of living in the country. The situation is no different for the staff at the Kenya Revenue Authority. The workers at Times Tower are signing a protest over what they allege are substandard working conditions and poor pay, while facing mounting pressure for higher taxes. The employees told the Standard yesterday that they were unhappy following the board's decision to raise rent for KRA houses by almost 100%. So it's not just you.
KRA has houses.
Yeah. So.
Okay, this 100% is okay. It sounds alarming, but what
as
was
per
the
if you were
rent?
paying 20k, you're now paying 40k.
Like that.
Like that.
Imagine.
Like
Yeah.
suddenly.
Yeah.
No, I get it, but how much were they paying?
Or even
there.
if you were paying 1,000,
No, yes.
There's a table there that shows.
I'll tell you in a minute, right?
Tell me in a minute.
So, the increase occurred twice within a single month, affecting offices nationwide. The concerns about the alleged unfavorable working conditions at the Revenue Collection Office has created discontent, and the workers feared it would derail the Kenya Kwanza's government plans to double revenue collections. They're actually worried for the government, not just themselves. The workers highlighted the lack of representation and attention for their welfare. They raised concerns regarding various issues such as the absence of a workers' union to represent their interests, the increasing housing rent in KRA's units, the pressure to meet collection targets, and the unfair recruitment processes. A staff who had been working and living in KRA housing units for nearly 10 years, despite not receiving a salary increment in the past 5 years, continues to strive for survival in the city. Okay, so let's look at some of these numbers, right? So if you were living in Langata, you paid rent of 8,000 shillings, 8,800 shillings for
In Langata.
for one bedroom. The rent after the board changes then came to 15,000, and then the rent after housing ministry charges came to 16,500.
Okay.
If you were living in a 2-bedroom, you paid 18,150. Then after the increment one, you paid 25,000, and then you paid 27,000 after the ministry addition. Okay. If you lived in a 3-bedroom house, you paid 28,050. Now, after the increment, you now pay 45,000 gafla. And then thereafter, you pay 49,500 after the ministry's intervention. If you lived in a 4-bedroom house, you pay 31,900 shillings. And then after the increment, you paid 50,000 shillings. And then the ministry changes, you now pay 55.
55K from 31K is a lot of money.
Is 19,000 shillings.
Wow.
It
is
is.
a lot of money.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if you lived in Mawenzi,
But this is a 4-bedroom house.
yes, a 4-bedroom house. That's a 4-bedroom house.
In Langata.
In Langata.
That's what I'm asking, because what really are the market rates for rent in Langata?
In Langata.
Now, if
Took
you
a
lived in-
while. So it's sort of like saying the KRA was subsidizing for its staff.
Yes,
By
that's
saying,
it.
all right, so
That's
stay
it.
here. We're not
Live
doing
here.
this. We're not doing this for profit. We are doing this to benefit our workers. So it's this much. So why was the board now revising these costs upwards? That would be question number one. Is it because KRA wants to collect more money from its employees, or why?
Now, official communication documents revealing that the initial increase in KRA housing rent was officially announced and put into effect by the board of the authority. The decisions came after a recommendation was presented in 2022. It was disseminated through a memo issued by Barire Wario, the Deputy Commissioner of Facilities and Logistics Services, which said, this will allow the authority aligned valuation of rental premises as guided by the Ministry of Lands and Planning and Physical Planning, and ensure compliance with the government circular of January 18, 2021 on rent charges on our housing estates. Following the issuance of the notice, a significant number of the housing tenants lodged appeals against the rent revaluation, which compelled the board to reconsider its position. But nevertheless, the board defended the rent increment and emphasized that the updated rates would be implemented to the salaries from October 1st. So they needed to align with what was happening according to the Ministry of Plans. So it was in regard to that.
Okay. So it's basically just to get the valuation of these houses in line with...
Yeah, a home, a housing unit of a particular value, they needed to fetch a certain amount in terms of rent. Otherwise, you undervalue. You can actually pay rent, and by that, you undervalue the unit itself. So according to the Ministry of Lands and what they're saying, the rent that you charge or pay needs to be commensurate with the value. I guess that now connects to the question CT was asking. Langata, and you're complaining about 1-bedroom, 8,000.
Or 4-bedroom, 31K.
Or 4-bedroom,
You
31,000.
see, there's something this government seems to know that the rest of us don't. And this is the conclusion I've arrived at. Because I would assume that you understand that in collecting money, in the sort of climate, dim financial climate that we are in, you would want to give people a certain ease. You'd want to give them breathing space. But every time I read the paper, that breathing space is being curtailed. You see, even if the rents that KRA employees were paying were not market rate, there's a reason why there was some logic as to why parastatals the government gave the employees houses. It was an incentive. Okay. Now, many people don't even realize that there was a time in this country when the government was a better employer, always was a better employer than even the private sector. And among the things that the government gave its employees, again, were houses. The government, forget not banks, gave you a car loan, all these things. So working for the government was actually good.
It was a good thing.
It was a good thing. Now, right now, with things as they are, these are the people who are supposed to guarantee that they're collecting what? A tax. Okay, now, what is it that you hope to raise? How much will you actually raise? And how do you balance this against the ease and the comfort that they had and which made their working condition better? What is it? When you balance this, that's what I'm saying. There's something the government knows that we don't know. Because it's like, now it's KRA. So they'll say, oh, let them join the fray. Fine, we get it. All prices will increase. Tomorrow, it'll go up again.
Yes.
Okay, we get it. Why is it that this cost of living, as we see it, is creating the fuss that it is? Because it is high. That's the real, simple truth. Now, when you're told you borrowed more, it means you're still going to now pay more. And when you pay more, it means whatever is collected, there'll be less of it remaining for you to do whatever you need to do in the country. Now, this is what I'm saying. There's something they understand which I'm trying to figure it out, but I can't figure it out. Because this arithmetic, the way I do it,
It's not entering.
No. And it's not making things better.
It's not.
So there is something that, again, that they're seeing and how it will become better, which I have not seen. So maybe I should just keep quiet and just wait until it gets better for me to see that it's actually gotten better. Perhaps that will be...
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Maybe there's a plan.
Yes.
Including the fact that now they're raising more taxes, so it will help now finance the government's operations,
Yes.
Yeah. October marked the first month that the taxman started receiving cash from enforcement of second round of ruling Kenya Kwanza's painful taxation measures in Finance Act 2023, including export and investment promotion levy on importation of cement clinker, iron and steel, as well as paper and paperboard and digital assets tax on online sale of content, music, ebooks, photos. So KRA basically has collected 19.4% higher revenue in this October than it did in last October. Which just tells you that, what?
But isn't that because of increased taxes and not necessarily because of robust activity on the part of the authority?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
The key to this thing is not just the spurt that you find in a month. It has to be continuous.
It has to be sustained.
Yes. And we will judge this by the time we get to the end of December. And when we hit January, that first quarter, we'll see. Because if indeed that trajectory is maintained, then you will actually say that these schemes that they put in place are actually working. But let me throw the spanner in the works.
Yeah.
How do we know that the figures they're telling us are real?
Or tuweke pesa hapa tujihesabie. Tuhesabu.
Yes. Weka tu
Na hard cash.
Yes, not one ndio hii.
Kwambia ati account inasoma hivi hapana.
Mambo yote ati we collected more. How do we know? So why are you still borrowing?
If we are collecting this amount of money.
Collecting this amount of money.
And you told us you're paying 45 billion as part of the loan repayment.
Yes.
Before December even.
Why?
Not adding up, is it?
No. Hatuna barabara.
Haya. Tundu Lissu is what we were saying. Tanzania's opposition leader Tundu Lissu has explained why his friendship with his mentor Raila Odinga cooled off and why he believes Tanzania is 50 years behind Kenya in terms of democracy and human rights. He had an interview with the Standard in Nairobi, and the fiery opposition chief who leads Chama cha Demokrasia na Maendeleo, Party for Democracy and Progress, it's called Chadema, at the same time laughed off claims that investors are fleeing Kenya to invest in Tanzania, describing that as, come on.
Which Kenya? Which
Tanzania?
The 55-year-old lawyer almost paid with his life for trying to unseat John Magufuli, who had him arrested 6 times, and then he was shot 16 times in broad daylight in Dodoma. Today, he cannot sit down without assistance He limps around surrounded by bodyguards, but his tongue still cuts like a sharpened dagger as he eloquently dissects the ills that afflict his country. So, on his relations with Raila, Lissu explained that his party and Raila's ODM had long association, recalling how Raila had mentored him and prepared them for the rough ride that awaited them in the world of opposition politics. Things changed in 2015 when Raila met Magufuli and endorsed his candidacy as a president. When Magufuli won, I traveled to Nairobi in 2019 to plead with Raila to talk to his friend to stop brutalizing us. Magufuli was killing us, and Raila agreed to talk to him, but nothing changed. On the day the BBI was being signed, I came to see Baba. I told him Magufuli was killing us, and he promised to talk to him. That's why in 2017, we supported Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto against Raila. But the ideological differences, Lissu added, have not cancelled out their friendship, for he still refers to Raila as a great inspiration, a father figure who came to see him in Nairobi hospital after he was shot. I respect Baba and the role that he has played to liberate Kenya. He's a great inspiration, and we have learnt a lot from him. Okay.
So now?
I don't know.
You know, political friendships.
Oh, you know, we are like this, but at the end of the day, we are still like this.
If you're talking
The
about
right of the story is trying to look for something.
Yes.
They fell out with Raila, but he still
still
respects
inspiration.
Baba.
and still Baba. If you're looking for high stakes drama, political intrigues and political friendships, my goodness, friends today, not friends today, friends tomorrow, not friends tomorrow.
It's common.
No, it's very, very common. In fact, it's common fodder, it's common currency. There's nothing surprising about it.
It's true. Haya. Sasa, January. So watoto wanaenda shule. February, form 1 wanaenda shule. Sasa, hatukuangi na pesa vile. So school heads are saying, please, please.
Quickly,
Now it's still November. Prepare yourself. Start putting our money one side, because we don't want this thing to happen again. Never again shall a fiction arise. Head teachers and principals have urged the national government to ensure timely disbursement of free primary and day secondary education funds before the reopening of schools to facilitate operations of the learning institutions. Now, note, they're only insisting on this free primary that you talk about and day secondary education. We know the others where you still have to send money. We know. But these ones specifically always suffer. Please send the money in time, because it's going to be a mess if you don't. They also go on to say that it is where? It is here. The development, this is after, they were in this meeting in Mombasa last week. The development comes after the state banned them from increasing school fees. Remember, the president said, school fees, we will not increase. They had previously said, we have to increase fees because this capitation that it comes, doesn't come, half comes, doesn't come. We can't depend on that. So now they've said, if that's the case, Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu said school fees for boarding institutions will also remain at the current approved fees. So all that story of increments is not going to happen. So they said, okay, fine. If you don't want us to increase, please just get this money to us in time. He said the Secondary School Heads Association, that's Kesha, the chair, Kai Ndumuli, and the Kenya Primary School Teachers Association, KEPSHA, and that's John Zioka, said every child has a right to access free and compulsory basic education. It's outlined in Article 53 of the Constitution. The government launched the free day secondary school program in 2008, and Kai said the capitation rate per learner was 10,000. This was increased to 12,000 in 2015 and then later to 22,000. He said public secondary schools were prohibited from charging tuition fees and only allowed to charge boarding fees in line with the guidelines issued by the ministry. Even with the increase in the amount of capitation per learner, the free day secondary program is grossly underfunded. And the budget process has remained blind to the increase in enrollment in public secondary schools, which has increased by an average of 6.91% over the years. So they've increased, they've added, they've done 1, 2, 3, but the money from you remains the same. And even when it comes, it is late. It comes in 50-60%. We never know where the remaining 31 point something percent goes to. So they say, please, even the little that you people are sending us, please let it be on time, because we don't know what to do. You said we cannot increase. We owe people money. Children must go to school. So how do we fix it? How do we fix it?
I was thinking about this the other day and wondering, so Kenya, we have a policy for free basic education.
Yes.
Okay? Free primary education. Primary is 100% free in public schools. And then in secondary schools, there's free day secondary education.
Yes.
But there's still capitation for all children, even those in boarding schools.
Yes.
That means every child in this country gets taxpayer-funded education.
Yes.
At some level.
Yes.
If you look at it, most of it is then free. The teacher is hired and paid by the government, taxpayer. And then there's this taxpayer capitation to every child. So why do we have bursaries?
That's a good question.
35 or 40 million shillings every constituency going for bursary.
This is interesting.
Why?
Because
why do we have bursary at county level? Why does the presidential bursary blah, 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 blah happen? Why do we have bursary if we have a free education policy?
Because it isn't free.
Because it's not free.
So why not just take that bursary money and make it free?
Why don't they take the money that they give for bursary anyway and apply it to boarding fees, for example?
Capitation.
Oh, yeah. Boarding fees is what you raise for yourself. The capitation goes towards all these other things you pay for boarding, right? So if you're going to give money for bursary, take it and then sort out that boarding issue.
But in this discussion, let me just muddy the water a little bit more. There is fees that parents actually pay.
There is. Yeah, there is.
Okay. So there's all this, and then there's the fee. Now, I think it's in the absence or in one's inability to pay these fees that the bursary kicks in. But
why do parents pay fees in a free education regime?
Because it's not free.
Because it's not free.
So what do we need to do to make it free? Why do we call it free if it's not free?
Because it sounds better.
And it also sounds like you're doing something.
You know, the question that you raise as to why it is there's a bursary and why that bursary is just simply not used. There is the question of there are parents who can actually afford to pay the fees. And it's understandable, in theory, that those who cannot afford to pay the fees can then apply for the bursary.
Okay.
I remember I was chairman of the board of management of a school where 3/4 of the students didn't pay fees. So I do the day school. That fee thing just kept rising.
Yeah.
Then we got a headmistress. Now that lady is something else. She pushed this agenda of bursary to the county. Fees. She got the fees paid. Okay. Now, so the money was there. Do we have an account of for instance, in terms of Kenyan shillings, how much money is often allocated, let's say per county, how much of it is utilized? How much of that money that, say, the members of parliament also get? See, I'm going back to what Eric was saying.
That's a very good question.
Yes.
Because it would be interesting to know these bursaries that are given out every school term.
Yes.
To what do they go to pay?
And how much is it?
Yes.
We know.
What do they go to pay?
It is ring-fenced. For every CDF, 30% is bursary.
It's bursary.
That's a lot of money. That is 40 million shillings per constituency.
And the
times
checks
290.
that are written, there are checks that will be written. If you go to line up for your bursary, Eric Latif, your check is written in Eric Latif, or is written to the school. It's written to the school. It's written to the school. It would be interesting to know what it goes to pay for, because mind you, it is not just primary, secondary. Everybody lines up for
all those
bursary.
things.
Yeah.
Let's do the news first, then we continue. Oh, there's no news. Hiya.
Spice up your life. Spice FM, Nakuru.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It wants tax. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Ben low, nin inte, nin der, ayu markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him, who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. Good. And he must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, no, you fellow. You.
This morning, we're not going to have an issue with traffic, that's for sure. The rains are still coming down if you're in Nairobi, down to a drizzle now, but that drizzle could last for hours. Are you coming off Jogo Road? Maybe a smidgen of traffic as you get to that roundabout at the City Stadium, but then thereafter, I think you're all right. On the Thika Superhighway, no thing, as well as coming off Gong Road. I think we'll be fine through and through. It's all for us to watch and see through the morning. Let's talk on Spice FM, KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7. What do you call this day? Happy Meaty Day.
Let's call it that.
All right. Happy Meaty Day to everybody. And the Pandamuti. Angalia Shimo Pandamuti. You must make sure that you've got the tree signings. This is the day for tree planting countrywide. And it's an important day. And also, as we were talking about school, let's get back into that school fees conversation a bit. But let's start with how, first of all, you can win school fees.
Okay, let me tell you how to build school fees.
Then
we now agree. Now, Kiwi, you shine your shoes, Abi. Shine your shoes and you step up and shine with Kiwi. So what we want you to do is go into any supermarket, and I'll tell you why and why this is important. Any supermarket where you will find the Kiwi tin with the brand new logo design. That's the one I want you to buy. All right. Now, once you purchase that CT, you will then pop the lid like so. Exactly. Now, under the lid, there will be a code, right? Write the code down, commit it to memory, whatever it is you're going to do.
Yes.
Then you will collect your telephone and you will dial *459*5#. *459*5#. Okay. Follow the instructions. That's where you're going to insert that code. Then immediately, Gafla, you will win data or airtime. You can call your relatives, you can check the internet for data, and then immediately you also get included or entered into the draw. The draw is a possibility then for you to win what? 35,000 shillings, you and 3 other people every week. For school fees, 35,000 shillings. School fees in January is a big deal, and it can be done. All you need to do, buy Kiwi today, step up and shine, and pay school fees.
Ndio.
Hivyo tu.
Sindio?
Yes.
Okay. As we're waiting for Architect Professor Omenya to join us, finish that. You were saying something about
I was asking
capitation, bursary.
So when you receive this bursary, because you go and the check is given to you at constituency, because now we're talking about bursary, right?
Yes.
And the question was, why is it then that if we can give bursaries and there is free education at primary level, at secondary level, right? It's said to be free. But we know that there's still something that is being paid because of 1, 2, 3. This money that goes for bursary, why can it then not go towards that and make sure that it is free in word and deed? But my question is, this money for bursary, what does it go to pay for? It cannot be going towards tuition in secondary school because that is already cared for. Abi? Because there's capitation. It cannot, because what you're being asked to pay for in boarding school is your boarding.
Yeah.
That's the money that comes from parents' pockets.
Yeah.
The rest of it, assumedly, is taken care of by government.
Yeah.
So when you, as a secondary boarder, receives money from your constituency in form of bursary, the assumption is that it goes towards boarding fees. You, as a day scholar who goes to collect bursary, what does that money go to cater for?
The thing is, though, there is free day secondary school.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yes.
Do other schools that are not day schools receive money, capitation money?
Maybe we ought to ask, is there any category of learning institution, primary or secondary, that doesn't
receive capitation?
Yes.
Right? Because on the other hand, if a majority of our schools are day schools anyway, it means that even this 1 billion shillings that comes into bursaries from CDF, it's still going into, a majority of it is going into what? Into day schools.
Yes.
Because even day scholars pay school fees.
Yes, they do.
Your school, the one that you chaired, was a day school.
Yes, it was a day school. People are paying fees.
But there was school fees. What was the school fees going towards?
You know, that's a question I never asked. Me, I assumed that school fees is part and parcel of running the school.
Yes. Inakuja tunafanya.
Honestly.
Yeah.
You've asked a question, that's what I'm thinking, actually. Why did I
it's got
ask
to
that
be going
question?
somewhere.
Was there a capitation that was coming in per
Yes.
child?
Yes.
So every child was
Children
being
used to eat lunch.
allocated some money.
From
Yes.
government.
From government.
From
Yes.
government.
And
They
it
used to eat
comes in.
lunch. Yes. There was lunch available.
And then so that was for lunch. Textbooks were coming from government.
Textbooks were coming from government.
Teachers were, okay, well,
Yes.
it's a day school. You guys, it's a sub-county school. There are many, many teachers who you had to hire.
Yes, we had to hire.
How many teachers did you
Board.
hire? What was the percentage of the board teacher versus TSC teachers?
The TSC teachers were more.
Okay.
The board teachers were probably around 3, if not 4. Yes.
So there were several, like 3 or 4 board teachers
Yes.
that had to be now paid for by their
the
parents. But then the other TSC teachers are obviously paid by a government.
By government.
So teachers, government. Books, government. Chalk,
Government.
blackboard,
Government.
lunch,
Government.
school fees is for watchman, the other
Bus.
BOM teachers, and such other things for running the school.
I think so, yes.
And steamer,
Government.
Maji.
You pay for it. You see, the way this thing works, it isn't a complete fallacy that it is actually free education. Not really. Because if you look at what now we can best term probably as a subsidy by the government, it is more than what the parents pay in terms of school fees.
Yes.
Yes.
But see, now that's where my argument was coming in. If already the government, what the taxpayer is footing more than 60% of education, why is the taxpayer then also removing money and giving to the MP and the governor to also give you back the money? Why not just put that whole money into the education kitty?
One time.
Why do we need bursaries? Why do we need a ministerial bursary, a county bursary, a presidential bursary, constituency bursary?
You know this?
Why do we need bursary?
You've asked this question before, and it makes a lot of sense if you actually talk about the actual amounts. Then you'll realize just how much money we're talking about. And so when the question is raised with that money in mind, you realize, wait a moment, but can't this money solve some of these problems?
Necessary to claw through, because how much?
It's a colossal amount of money.
What's the average amount of checks that come through the constituency level in terms of bursaries? It would be interesting to see.
We will follow up with that discussion.
Absolutely.
Every constituency has some 35 or so million shillings.
Yes.
Bursary every year.
That is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Our guest is here, Professor Alfred Meja. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Very, very nice tree planting day.
Have you done like that?
And the gods have brought the rains. No, in Kenya we are organized, through divine interventions. It rains first, then
now
there'll be some sun at around 10.
Yes.
Then we go plant trees.
You know, you're clairvoyant, because this is what I told them in the morning. The rain comes, for the tree planting to happen. Yes.
And then we shall plant.
Yes, exactly.
You're an urban planning expert and an architect. And of course, when it comes to greening, you also are very, very big on greening.
Totally.
Do you support this idea of a public holiday to plant trees?
I definitely support planting trees, but when it comes to a public holiday, there's another issue. I think this is a thing. I actually established the African Union Climate Change Center in Addis and did the 25-year strategy for the continent. And that is just to say that my green credentials are quite substantial.
Yeah.
And I do support, in a very robust way, need to green. I mean, we need to increase our forest cover, we need to sequester carbon and so on in our own small way, despite the fact that we didn't cause the problem, as it were. But, and when it comes to tree planting, this is something that we discussed in detail with the late Michuki when I was Minister for Environment. That's the same time I was in the African Union. And our position was very simple, that to increase our forest cover and to green, we had suggested that we plant trees in all government institutions across the whole country. You can imagine how many there are. In fact, you are discussing education. You can imagine if you planted trees in all primary schools in the country, and all secondary schools, and all polytechnics, and all universities, and all military institutions, and every single chief's offices. If we did that, in fact, our forest cover would double, literally, just by doing that. The reason why I was suggesting that was because the space I was in, measurability of the activity, confirmation of the activity was critical in terms of getting these global funds. In fact, during that same time, there was a lot of controversy about the amount of trees that the late Wangari Maathai had planted because they could not be tracked. That was a problem. So we said, look, let's start with the easier things. Let's start with what we can track, and then after that we get into the forests and plant trees there and so on. So yes, I support planting trees every day, not just during a holiday. But I think more importantly, we need to actually be able to track these trees that have been planted, because this government and there'll be taxpayers' money, whether we like it or not. So we need to do it in a way that the interventions can be tracked. Otherwise, we'll go back to pointing at every single forest and saying, this is the one we planted last year. Which goes to political deceit, is actually, making a very good initiative bad. Yeah.
Let's welcome you to the conversation with the day's proverb. CT has weekly proverbs. Every week, the proverbs come from one country. We're beginning with this week with
DRC.
DRC.
We were in the Republic of Congo, so I figured, why not just go to the neighbor?
We add the democratic.
Yes, we add the democratic to it, and by adding, we add another country to it. Okay. Woe to the high-spirited bride whose mother-in-law is still alive.
What is the high-spirited bride?
Woe to the
high-spirited bride whose mother-in-law is still alive.
Prof, what do you think this proverb is saying?
The high spirit, I think it's a traditional mother-in-law stories that the excitement is going to come down very soon.
What goes up must come down.
But I think really this Proverbs are meant to educate us. For me, what I think is that you're being told, even if you're getting into things enthusiastically, you need a little bit of restraint, because when reality checks, you might actually find that it is a little bit different.
Land the ground.
From what kwa ground vitu ni tofauti. Like our president is realizing.
Land the ground.
He was a high-spirited bride. But the mother-in-law, Kenya, bado tuko tu. Ni sisi tuko.
That's right. It just completely translates. It says, you know what? We are not going to the market to borrow at anything above 10%.
Yes, exactly.
Mother-in-law kamwambia
10, 18.
Wewe ndio badilishe mambo hapa.
Unajua huku niko nani?
Na mmezaliwa tumewazaa.
But why? What do you think? Actually, now that we've gone there, because you've observed the politics of a country over time and the people's sentiments. Do you think the president was saying these things meaning it, or was it that he was uninformed? Because all those things, let's look at them. That one, NSE, we're not coming to the domestic market to borrow above 10%.
Right.
That flopped.
Right.
G2G. This one is going to bring our dollar back into, we're going to contain the shilling, maybe 120, thereabouts, Has not worked. All these things that the president says that will happen, Even El Nino.
Even the one we cannot control.
What do you think he says that?
Well, I think I think it's the same. I like the mother-in-law story totally. Yeah, I mean you've not been to this family, and you assume that things will go your way, or that you'll direct things in a particular way. Then when you get in there, the reality is very different. You remember the first thing the president did was Western Sahara when he got into office, and immediately reversed it. I think like 2 days later. Yeah. So I think the president, for me, I find him very interesting because he should have been part of this family. We expected him to have been because he was the deputy president, but it seems like all along he was an outsider. So he got into this family the first time when he became president, and I think. All along, he's been trying to settle. Even up to now, he's not settled. Whatever he thinks is going to happen, things happen a little bit differently. Yeah, whether, like you're saying, whether it's G2G, whether it was borrowing and so on, and those things are very well intentioned. I think what was interesting was that when the president gave the address, when he addressed not the weather, the weather he addressed the other day, and the gods didn't listen, but when he was addressing the interest rates, that was like I think just less than a week after he came to power. Yeah. And a lot of friends, a lot of my friends are rich. I'm the poor one amongst them. But so they work with banks. They run banks. So a lot of friends there who run banks and were listening to the president. And then, of course, the guys called me. And it's not true that the president is my friend. He's not. The other one was and was my client, actually. I mean, I have to disclose these things. Yes. So my friend tells me that, Omenya, why don't you tell your friend that, interest rates and so on cannot be ordered by politicians to behave in a particular way. That is the way they do, and there are even people who know how they behave. Yes, I think I like that the mother-in-law story. That the president could have meant well.
How could he have? Listen,
no. What I mean, you see, that's why I go to the mother-in-law story.
There's one thing we know.
That's why I go to the mother-in-law story.
Prof, there's one thing we know.
Yes.
That throughout his campaign,
right,
the president had, segmented groups of advisors.
Yes.
There was a specific group of advisors that this president has had.
Correct.
Even in the campaign.
Correct.
That we didn't hear of in the other presidents.
Exactly.
Economic advisors.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Economists.
Yes.
Somebody who has run the central bank was his advisor.
Yes.
Somebody who has been a PS treasury was his advisor.
Correct.
All those people
were
his advisors.
Correct.
They knew these things.
Yes. I agree with you. And you listen to the president now, 1.5 years down the line. I used to complain before about President Uhuru Kenyatta that this guy didn't have real advisors. He was the one who was advising them. I think the last time we had real advisors, it was Kibaki. And ironically, on these matters, Kibaki was expert. But he did have, all his Council of Economic Advisors, chaps working Vision 2030. Yep. We would hear things happening in Central Bank and so on. Yeah, so definitely there was some advice that Kibaki was getting and was using. Uhuru, we saw him give a lecture at some point in public to the Auditor General about advisories that the Auditor General had actually made. So I said, what's wrong with this president? But now when it comes to President Ruto, there is a gospel artist who was telling us, an old gospel artist who was telling us that when his son turned 18, something happened. The son realized that he knew everything, absolutely everything. And it was impossible to tell him anything. Until now at 24, 25, when the son now was in the gutters. It's almost like the prodigal son story. Yeah, but you have an all-knowing president. I think let's put it that way. I don't know how to advise president even on buildings. Most likely he'll advise me. Like he advised the weatherman on weather forecast, and he was advising the markets on monies, and he's advising Western Sahara, the foreign affairs on foreign relations. So I think the message you're sending to the president is that we are paying the advisors. Us, we no longer care about the president, but we are paying the advisors. Let them do a bit of work, just a little bit, not much. I think that's the problem we have with the president. He's an all-knowing president, and the last time I checked, It was God who was all-knowing. Even the Pope, I used to be Catholic, even the Pope, his infallibility was not linked with knowing everything. But we have a Kenyan president who knows everything on everything, whether it's education. He's lectured us, by the way, many times on construction, on how housing works and so on. And sometimes I sit and I say, Omenya, surely, I got a PhD on these things, and I don't seem to know anything. The president, my president, is the one who has figured it out. And sometimes what he's saying is fallacious, factually incorrect. But we've actually reached that stage that God gave us an all-knowing president that he crafted in his own image. Hallelujah. So it becomes very difficult to advise him.
Okay. So then I think, because the thing is, this is interesting that you say this. Yeah. So hallelujah moment. But where then do Kenyans come in all of this? Because it's often been asked here. The certain things happening. Right. There's an economic issue in the country, a big one.
Correct.
At the moment.
Yeah.
Whether you're looking at internally or externally, taking global and geopolitics and all of this into consideration. Right. With conflicts here, we've even been told that the cost of living and the fuel prices, now we can blame Israel and Hamas and Palestine for that as well.
Which we know is not true.
We can blame that.
Thanks to our all-knowing president.
Yeah. And then we've also been told internally, as recently as last week, coming from the CS Treasury, that Kenyans must tighten their belt a little bit more. I don't know that there's anything left to tighten it around, but all right, tighten it a little bit more. We also did hear from the president last week that, the things that he has put in place, it's going to be bumpy, it's going to be rough for a certain time, but they're foreseeing and they forecasted to know that it will get better. Now, through all of this, what role Kenyans are supposed to play is the question. Do we just sit back and allow these things to happen? Do you raise the alarm to say, hold on, this is not going as it ought to? Strikes and protests are the order of the day. What role do Kenyans play in all of this?
Yeah, it is very interesting because, we are lucky that we are a democratic country and we have these spaces for engagement. But we're also unlucky that, in a way, we've totally perverted that democracy. So if somebody says that, I think the president lied, it is a big deal. Many times I've been called after leaving studio, then Omenya, why were you saying those things? But I say, what did I say? What I'm saying is the public domain. It's like saying Mombasa is outside here. And then somebody saying, no, you can't say that because the president said it's actually in Githurai. This is the point that we need to deal with. We need to call the president out. A lot of the things that the president has said were actually lies. Lies. There are some things that will not happen, but some were just outright lies, actually.
Lies meaning he knew that, not to be true.
He knew them not to be true. But then, of course, politicians are normally allowed to lie during...
Just a little bit.
There's like a threshold.
There's a threshold. But then now we're reaching a point where the president is saying, we're not saying the president is lying, but a lot of the things that the president is saying are factually incorrect. Yeah, they're actually factually incorrect. I think there's a journalist who looked at the president's State of Nation address, and what is interesting is that even the lies Kenyans wanted to hear were missing.
Tell us one more time.
Like I said, the speech lacked rhyme. Of course, when you work in poetry, you can say things that are not necessarily true, but because they're interesting to the ear. Even those ones now we are not getting, and of course there was no rhyme and there was no reason,
and there was no rhythm.
So things that are factually correct were also missing. So now we're missing everything. At least for 1 year, we were told, okay, fine. Si vijana watandikwa 300,000, si manyumba itajengwa, si kibra itaisha, sijui nini. Those were rhythm. We didn't believe them, but they were nice to the ears. Yeah, but then now come to reason is what you're talking about here. My fuel prices are up.
Yes.
My cousin is jobless. I'm hungry. I really have no food. I'm wondering where I'll pay my loans and so on. The jobs that were promised are missing and so on. There we need reason. And again, what you're seeing is that we have a proper Potea Pata president. It's not even saying that.
What do you mean?
It is Potea Pata because if it were not, then I would tell you, look here, I'm putting this measure in place. It is going to be painful for this long. and then you'll actually start seeing a change. This change is coming in third year. This change is coming in fourth year for now.
Yeah.
This change may not come in this term because the measures we're putting, typically the way those measures are applied, the medium term measures and so on. We are not seeing a coherent president that's laying out a blueprint where he's saying, look here, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 things. Typically, the impact of what you're going to do takes this long. We are not seeing a president who's looking at the country holistically and saying, yes, we're doing something here and it's impacting this way. What we are seeing is a president who's doing a lot of fragmented activities whose impact nobody knows. Really, and some of those things are backfired. We're talking to G2G thing that was going to stabilize the shilling and was going to reduce the prices of petrol. Have they reduced? The answer is no. Has the shilling stabilized? The answer is no. When is it going to stabilize? The president is not telling us. Nobody's telling us within government. And I just use that as an example. That yes, if I come here and I tell you, look here, guys, I'm going to turn this situation around, and it's a difficult situation, and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 things. I should also be able to tell you that, look here, let us, like the president is saying, it is going to be painful, it is going to be difficult, but the sort of measures I'm making will only start achieving results in year 2, or in year 3,
I see
or now,
dilemma.
or there's some things that you could actually get now. But currently, the president is not giving guarantee on anything.
He cannot give a guarantee on anything. Can
Why?
he really?
He can.
Can he really? Look,
politicians, in fact, the only currency politicians have is hope, and hope is guarantees.
This president,
Yes.
Prof, has been criticized for actually putting timelines. Okay, and the moment he puts a timeline, people are like, come on.
He didn't deliver on his
6 months
timelines.
time,
That is
3
the
weeks
issue.
time,
That is the issue.
60 days time, in a month or 2. You see, and that could come to maybe the lessons that he has learned in office.
No.
The lesson that he has learned in office is,
let me tell you.
I mean I mean to say, I mean that we will have new mobile phones in 6 months' time
and whenever
by June.
Which timeline
right?
did the president meet?
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
He has learned his lessons.
Yes.
If I say in 6 months,
Yes.
and then they come in 8 months, Kenyans will not look at it's finally
they didn't come at all.
8 months.
They've not come at all.
The phone mobile, they're in the market.
We'll say, he said 6 months, but now look, it's 8 months.
The cheap phones are in the
which
market.
One? Which
we had them here.
Which
City, you've
promise
seen them
did he
in the
say
market.
that?
They are called neon.
They're in the market.
The ones which are being
the locally assembled
Yes.
phones are in the market. The thing is, he had said in 6 months.
Yes.
It didn't happen in 6 months. It happened in 9 months.
We didn't even remember that he said it.
You
But
see
it's
now
okay.
you see now that
it's okay that
the president has realized, Kenya, as long as I didn't meet the target, they will not even if it's 9 months, I will not. So let me not give timelines.
But you're missing the point.
Let me say
the
we shall
neon thing
have
is like
phones.
sweets. You promise your kids, but that's very different from telling your family that you're going to shift them from Utawala to pipeline. That's a big thing. But if I promise my kids sweet and I forgot today, I can bring them tomorrow. The point is that there's some things that are inconsequential in the bigger scheme of things. So yes, whether the president has done them or not, for me, it doesn't matter. Whether he did them yesterday or today or he's going to do them tomorrow, it doesn't really matter. For us, we need to really look at the big picture. And that is partly, that's the problem I even had with the president at the State of the Nation and these things. He's pointing things. And I've told guys, it is impossible, even you, if today you are put in government, it is impossible to do nothing. It's impossible. So just pointing, saying, I woke up, I did this, I woke up, I did this, that is okay. But we're saying there's a bigger picture that you meant, the bigger responsibility you have of running government. And at the core of it is shifting the economy, at the core of it is changing the lot of the citizens and so on. Of course, you'll do things. The president will do things, by the way. Even if he was dead, he will still do things. That's the nature of states. That's just how it is. So we can't come and pick every single thing that the president is doing and say the president did. No, we must look at the bigger scheme of things and what are these big pieces of the jigsaw puzzle without which then actually government won't just have delivered. And some of them, in fact, the government has made progress. If you look at security, for example, government has made progress there. Those are things we expect from government. This one we are joking about, but I think the president bumbling, but he's making progress there. Foreign policy, I think that's an area that we're, but for the citizen, basically what the citizens want is their lives to be better, his jobs to be created and so on, which is actually what the economy is meant to do. That's the core. on that one, of course, we are saying, yes, you can come and tell us some little factory has been created that's causing, creating jobs for 100 people, 200 people. That one can be done by Omenya. I don't need government to do that for us. And that's why I was saying that the president is failing. Whatever he promised, the key big things that he promised is not done.
How about we take a minute, if you would,
right,
Prof, and put yourself in the shoes of a president today.
Right.
The shoes of President William Ruto today.
Right.
And the different things that obviously, it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what country you rule over. You will have challenges that you grapple with.
True.
There will be things that you will not be sure how to navigate.
Right.
Let's just take this one issue of the economy. Right? And because of the ripple effect nature of things,
right,
because of a stifled economy, there will be very many things that will not operate at potential.
True. Very, very true.
Right? So what would be the way to deal with it? One of the reasons that we've been given as to why things were the way they were was because of the heavy borrowing that took place.
Correct.
70% of the revenue collected in the country today goes towards the servicing of debt.
Correct.
And so that leaves a huge burden on other things that should have been done. Development,
right,
recurrent expenditure,
right,
etc., etc. What would be the way to go to deal with some of these things?
Basically, what I would say is the way you actually... we know this. A big institution under receivership. What do you do? Same with governments. The issue... so there's a point. That the two approaches where you can say, okay, fine, we'll go in, we'll look at the situation, we'll firefight on critical issues that we actually need to firefight, and then we'll sort of audit what's happening, and then start putting measures, that eventually turns these things around. I tell guys, government is like a big ship. I use the analogy of the big ship because at some point I was just fascinated. I was staying in an hotel for about 3 weeks, and I was wondering what was wrong with a ship. And the ship was turning, and you couldn't see it turning, actually. Yeah. But it's after some time that you realize, it's facing the opposite side. It's fully turned. So my position on this one is very, very clear. And I've been clear. I've spoken to this over and over again, that when you take over a big institution, you don't shake it up immediately, especially when it's in trouble. You sort of let it be where it is, and then, take a few strategic actions over time to enable those things to happen. Countries don't just run. Countries are very difficult to destroy, actually, because we have infrastructures, we have the civil service, we have, we have the institutions, we have the judiciaries, we have the police, we have all these guys. What I would do myself, if I was president of Kenya, let me tell you what I would do. I would come in and take audit of the country. I would even take 1 year just taking audit of the country. And let the measures that are in there be there, really, so that I don't worsen the situation. That is it. And that's where the Council of Elders comes in, the advisors in different areas. Fellows will be working, they'll be doing policies and so on. I'll be very careful what I change. I've quarreled with this country over and over again. For example, the change in our education system, totally uncalled for. Everybody who comes in wants to do different things. They want to put their footprint on the country and on the economy. And what we end up doing is destroying the country. What is wrong with saying, okay, fine, the country is running, yes, it's not running well, but it's running. And saying, why don't we let the country run the way it is actually running? And then with all these institutions, we'll take some very careful measures. We'll take some very careful measures so that we do no harm. That is what we say in the UN lingo. So that the measures we're putting in place don't result in these negative impacts. Look at measures that I think can be quite positive in our sector, education. Government comes in. Says universities are broke, so what shall we do with the universities? They say we've not been giving the university the actual cost of training these kids. Yeah. So that for a degree in medicine, the university needs 600,000. We give them 60,000. Yeah. So government decides that okay, fine, immediately we shall give the university all the money they need. So 600,000 it is. How do you do that? You have to increase the bill for the education sector. I mean the budget. So the budget is then increased. Then you say, fine. I mean, now for the livelihood of these kids, the livelihood is also high and so on. And then you're saying, because of what you're trying to do, we need a slightly different institution and arrangements. So what we'll do is that we'll have a loan, and then we'll have a grant, and then we'll have bursary, and then you see, because the bursary is also the other sides, the ones we're talking about from the ministry. Some of that money can come from that end and so on. So you end up with a situation where, because of these good intentions and very well thought through and trying to overhaul this system, the universities have no money, the kids themselves have no money, because these things are not working. People don't even know which institution to go to for what. So I'm illustrating that as good intentioned activities but implemented wrongly. And that is what's happening in every sector, actually. You know, my colleagues ask me, but Professor, you are the ones who are saying that you're praising government for increasing the education spending. Incidentally, the education spending has been increased significantly by this government. Yet, people are crying that, school fees, we have to pay school fees.
The ship is still turning. The ship is still turning. But the captain has given the order, let's turn the ship.
But my point was that instead of rocking this thing, if financing university education had been thought through, you have to ask yourself those bigger questions. That is this a point where we do education, and then we change interest rates, and then petrol is up, and so on. If I was the one, I would say no. This is great. We have a blueprint for education, but actually, let's not even do anything. Let's let the thing run the way it was running before. Let's intervene elsewhere. Let's deal with the price of petrol and so on and basic commodities. In year 2, we shall now come to tackle education, because it's the same Kenyan.
Yeah,
it is the same Kenyan that is. You see, sometimes I'm not a medic, but sometimes you can treat a patient in a way that you kill them. But you've diagnosed all the diseases that I have. Each of them requires particular medication. You put the medication, I end up with cocktail of medication. So I start fighting medication instead of fighting the disease. And then my organs just give up.
Let's take a break.
And that's the situation we are in as Kenyans.
Let's take a break. 24 minutes to 8. Professor Alfred Umenya is an urban planning expert. He's our guest this morning. We are just looking at the state of the nation and also the role of the citizens. As we take this break, Prof, you know this, Kiwi.
Yes.
You know it, right?
Yes, I know Kiwi.
I mean, who doesn't know Kiwi? It's been
I know Kiwi.
Since 19 what, Kenya?
Hey, my friend.
1927.
This thing has been here from so many. I think it's almost.
But what else do people use to polish their shoes?
If not Kiwi.
If not Kiwi,
Surely.
right? Yeah? So, now what Kiwi is doing, especially for the education sector, this particular tin of Kiwi is a promotion tin. And if you buy this, open under the lid, you will find a code.
Yes.
And then in front, you can see here the starburst.
Right.
It gives you instructions on what to do. It tells you, once you buy this, just open the leads, read the code, and then dial *459 *5#.
Yes.
Enter that code.
Right.
Immediately, you win instant airtime or data.
Nice.
And then you put into a draw. And that draw, you could be one of the 4 lucky winners every week who gets 35,000 shillings school fees. We were just talking about school and school fees.
Yeah, but surely that Kiwi, Blue Band, and Kimbo. You know, for us,
Pioneer products.
Polishing your shoes is just Kiwi. So if I go to the market now, I'll ask them. Can you give me what I don't even know the names of the others. But I tell them, nipatieni ile Kiwi, the one whose name I don't know. The one who say.
Time for that break. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
We love to share our cultures, and the one thing that unites us all, that celebrates precious moments, nurtures our Kenyan spirit, welcomes, and even inspires. Our language does all of this and more. The more the milk, the better the chai. Chai kweli ina Brookside Dairy Best.
Rainy conditions continue in Nairobi, currently at 17, highs of 22 and lows of 15. It is mostly cloudy with rain as well in Nakuru, going to highs of 22 and lows of 15. The sun might peek through those clouds in Nyeri, highs of 22 and lows of 16 as well. And we're looking at now partly sunny conditions at 15 in Eldoret with highs of 22. And Mombasa this morning is partly sunny, highs of 31, and the clouds have seemed to disappear as well in Malindi, currently at 26. Kisumu is cloudy in some parts at 21, highs of 28, and it's cloudy in Kakamega at 18 with highs of 27. We're looking out into a rainy Kampala at 19, heavy rain with highs of 25, and sunny at 24 in Dar es Salaam, going to highs of 31. Mogadishu sunny at 26, and Addis Ababa is sunny at 12 with 15, and sunny conditions in Johannesburg, going to highs of 27. Lagos is clear at 26 with highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 31 in a mostly cloudy Kinshasa at 23.
Spice up your life.
Not a problem this morning with traffic, looking at many parts of the city. With the holiday for tree planting, it means that most folks will planting at home or planting where it is that they go. So the normal traffic that we'll see on a Monday morning will not be there today. Little spots here and there in different parts of the city, but nothing too sticky this morning. We're going to talk anyway. Let us know just in case anything does pop off. Spice FM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversation continues. Our guest, Professor Alfred Umenya, urban planning expert. He's an architect. He was the youngest dean of architecture, right? At the University of Nairobi.
Correct.
Hey, bueno. Okay.
I was 30.
When you became dean.
When I became dean.
Well, 30 is young.
Bueno.
No, even officially, government of Kenya, I was accused. In fact, I was being told that no, you went quite fast, and my only defense was Kenyatta's cabinet at independence.
Yes,
I was saying I was older than 3/4 of those guys, and they did quite well. That was the late Professor Magoha interviewing me, telling me that are you sure you can even socialize with professors, leave alone deans?
Actually, all right, City.
Mm-hmm. You know, the discussion, I think in my mind has moved from the discussion of the presidency and the government to the individual, because every president leaves or a legacy of not what they have done, but who they are, because who they are is what is manifested in the things that they do.
Right.
And you have to ask the question, okay, this person is the president, but what life is he actually living?
Right.
And that is, again, is manifested in the things he does.
Right.
Now, there's a thinking, there's a psychologist, the name is written Jung. How is it pronounced?
Young.
Young, okay. Youngism. There's this idea of living the unlived life, meaning there's an idea of what you have wanted to do, and so the opportunity presents itself.
Right.
You now start living that unlived life.
Correct.
Yes. And it's in
with all sort of distortions.
Yes, you want to do this, and then you want to do this, and you want to do this, and you actually want to do this, and you want
Yes.
and anyone watching has to pause and say,
Yeah.
okay, these are very many things. Clearly,
Correct.
You have clear. The thing that is clear is you have intentions.
Correct.
Right? But something seems to happen to those intentions.
Correct.
And that something is what I refer to as a competing interest. All these plans are not undoable there.
Right. Correct.
But it is clear they're not doable in the manner in which they are being described.
Exactly.
Now, where the competing interest comes in, you ask is, so what hinders you from getting these things done?
Correct.
Because on the face of it,
They can be done.
They're doable.
yes, and on the face of it, you mean to do it because you've got these advisors, you've got all these people.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Correct.
but now, if the competing interest takes center stage,
Right.
then it will not. None of these things will happen.
Correct.
So the question is, what is the
The
competing,
competing interest. Correct. Exactly.
What do you think, City?
What I think is this. Successive governments have shown one thing and one thing in common. Everyone who is in government seeks to be rich. At the expense of the government and at the expense of the citizenry.
True.
So now it's a question. What we're measuring here is not that willingness, but whether there'll be a modicum of restraint.
Correct.
But
Okay.
it's always there.
It's always there.
Very
It's
true.
always there.
Very, very true.
So do you think then this is the mother-in-law that's the competing interest?
Yes.
You've got an enthusiastic bride, like you said.
Yes.
Who's come into office, has listened to the ground and heard these are the pain points of Kenyans.
Correct.
And they need instant solution. Because
Correct.
when they're voting for you, they're telling you, you can't come back to us here for 5 years and tell us, I'm thinking, I'm putting in place. What
Yeah.
are people telling the president now? Stop giving us to Tafanya.
Yes.
We want you to have done them.
Right.
So there's pressure for you to deliver.
Correct.
And then there's the mother-in-law who is everything else, the system, the government, the people
Right.
that are just
And usually,
competing
it
and
is
pushing
you
back.
because
Yes, it starts with you.
the,
Correct.
the stumbling block is actually you.
Correct.
Not all these other factors.
Exactly.
Because the thing the presidency gives in this country, it gives you real power.
Exactly. Yeah. Very, very true.
And if you are the sort of president who has ensured that even the checks and balances are under your control, then you have genuinely real power.
Yes.
So the issue of not being able to deliver doesn't arise.
Correct.
Does it not really?
No.
No, it doesn't. In fact, I agree with CT 100%. That I was telling people, in this country, even the only person we allow legally, well, we allow, we don't say it, but the only person we even allow to be corrupt is the president. Yeah. Today, the president, if the president wants his budget increased fivefold, tenfold, it can be done legally. Yeah, really. You'll complain that his extravagance is what. If the president wants his comfort for 20 lifetimes done, it can be done legally as a powers. So what I'm saying is, don't worry whether people said you are corrupt when you're getting into power or not. You have monopoly of power, you have monopoly of resources, you even have monopoly of corruption. Come and tell these guys, look here, guys, sit down and do your work. But now Kenyans are not even talking about corruption, by the way. If you notice, the corruption discourse is not there at all anymore because we've given up on that one. You see things happening at the airport, you see the police, you see the things we used to complain about. Normally when you're complaining about some things, is a symptom. It's like somebody who's feeling pain and that can be addressed. But when somebody who's generally sick does not complain, there's a problem. The person might be dead, actually. And now we don't even talk about that. And this thing we're talking about, that you're seeing, you are clearly seeing government policy, government program, government approaches being designed for people to benefit. What was the headlines yesterday? It was about the oil tank that is stuck in Indian Ocean. What is the issue with it? Interested parties are fighting. Why they've even gone to court, saying, "Look here, this is my oil, this is my whatever." If you and what is the program? The program is government to government oil. And you can look at that in every single sector. If you look at housing, is again interest. We debated those things. Things happening in the ministry. So basically, it's like the president has given a blanket check for everyone in position to loot. And it's difficult, as CT has said. If government is also complex, if you put me there and I'm planning the loot, to do it well takes a lot of time and resources and distorts government policy. So the only way for me to deliver is for my boss telling me, Omenya, we know your appetite for different things. If you try, you are going to be in so much trouble. Then I can concentrate on my work. And then as I'm doing that, we may end up with normal corruption. As I'm doing that, I may meet CT, I give him this big road thing, and then CT tells me that, no, Omenya sasa hapa nitakupatia 20%. Then that's normal corruption. But the other one is so ridiculous because I'll be saying, the reason I'm putting, first I go to establish a company with CT. Now you can imagine the other bit and why we end up with an inefficiency. I plan to steal from this road. So what do I do? Because I'm not even working. What I do, I meet CT outside there. I tell him, CT, do you have a road company? He says, no, I don't have. Now you go register one. Meanwhile, nothing is actually happening.
Yeah.
See, no, but you need to change the directors. You know, my interest must be protected. Meanwhile, I'm also talking to a PS this side. I'm telling them that we need a road in this particular place because that's the one we can justify CT doing. They're like, but Omenya, you know, that road is not in the budget. You find a way of doing it, mjinga. Kwani unafikiria pesa ya kampeni itatoka wapi? So the guy is there also tweaking things and so on. Then in between there is saying, now this one we can whatever we can deal with it through supplementary budget maybe, but we have a problem. The PS, the director is not playing ball. We say now remove the director or we shift responsibilities. You know what you are doing there is you are creating inefficiency.
Yeah.
You are not inefficient. You are inefficient as a thief. And you're also inefficient as a doer of deeds. You know, so whatever you're meant to do, you're not delivering on it efficiently. And even as a thief, you're not stealing efficiently. So, and this is the situation we are in. We have inefficient thieves who are doing nothing.
You know, if you just think about our politics and how it's structured then in this country. So you may have a president who comes in with all this enthusiasm. I want to make some things change. Okay?
Right.
And then there's so much pressure from the electorate that, okay, what can you do?
Right.
We have challenges in education. We have challenges in healthcare. We have challenges in this and the other. Our economy, our debt, all those things piled up together. We can't feed ourselves. The cost of living is high.
Right.
All those things are needs, and they're presented to you as urgent needs.
Correct.
By your people.
Right.
And then you say, all right, so let's start moving things.
Right.
Health, let's have a structure. Let's have laws. Let's have new institutions. On fuel, how can we negotiate? Let's have this structure.
Right.
But you're the one who's saying, and then there are doers.
Right.
And those people who are in the bureaucracy of civil service who know, I am here, I'm P&P.
Right.
I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
They'll frustrate you.
Correct.
And probably that's what we see in government. A president who comes in like City saying, you come in and you're radical and you say, you know what, I've got the monopoly of power and everything, but you don't have the monopoly of doing.
The question...
And these people can just sit back and frustrate you. And as they are frustrating you by things not moving, the public comes and says, but you, it's been 1 year in office, what on earth have you been doing?
Yeah.
So you have this pressure coming from the people.
Right.
And you have this pressure coming from these guys that are telling you cannot make us change how we are doing things.
But
you're caught between those two hard places.
But there's a question. Right. There's a question. Is a civil service frustrating the president? Is the police frustrating the president? Is the parliament frustrating the president? Are government employees frustrating the president? I think it's the other way around. I'll give you a case. I'll give you a case, and I have no problem giving that on air. The president came and told us that, and this was a complaint from a civil servant, I'll not say who, but the president came and told us on housing. The president came and told us that we already have an act that allows establishment of the housing fund. We're like, which act is that one? So I looked around, I couldn't find the act. So I come and tell these guys that, but the only act we have is the National Housing Corporation Act. That is the only act that establishes a fund. Turned out that was actually the fund the president was referring to. Yeah. Okay. Now we have the housing thing. We've agreed. We accepted. Where is the fund located? The 1.5%. Where does it go? Is it going to the National Housing Corporation? It is not going to the National Housing Corporation. It is actually going to Treasury. And from Treasury it's finding its way to the ministry. Bomayangu, the ones who are collecting money for construction, is that money going to the legal fund, which is the National Housing Corporation? No, it is actually going to the mainstream ministry. So basically, National Housing Corporation came and told me, Omenya, sometimes you meet these guys. Why are they making us irrelevant? We are the government institution that should be doing these things. Why are they creating parallel systems? I'm just using that as an example. And this is what I'm saying, that actually, if and I'm using that as an example, if we're keen on ensuring that things were working the way they were working, that the right people were doing the right thing, in fact, for me, half the problems would not be there. In fact, we'd be holding people to account. Yeah, but again, because of these vested interest issues that we're talking about, we have a situation where even the institutions that have been created to do the work are not doing the work.
And that's what I was saying.
Yes.
You see, there are all these other interests. You see, the National Housing Corporation under the Ministry of Housing is just one institution.
Correct.
All right. There is the National Treasury.
Yes.
There are all these other interested parties.
Correct.
That are within the bureaucracy of public service.
Correct.
What are they doing? Are they ensuring we have efficiency?
Yes.
In delivery of this promise, or are they not? So as you sit back as the president, 4 years down the road, we'll ask you, so where are those houses?
Yeah.
Eric, consider this.
And we'll turn back into, this whole thing was not done right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the people who told you that they are doing it right, they were actually not doing it right.
And that's the problem. People are grabbing projects, taking them to their areas in disregard of the law. We know where the budgeting is happening. We know that's a function of parliament. No budgeting is happening in parliament at all. So we have this institutional interference that is very subtle. Whatever is happening in ministries is not actually based on the priorities of the ministries.
But is it really subtle, Professor?
It's not even subtle. You're right, City. It is on your face. Incidentally, I attended a function with the Deputy President and other people. And I was like, what? I mean, we've gone back to Moi's time. Because you could actually see public policy being made, literally in a public rally. People being told, okay, fine, utajenga barabara hapa. I was like, utajenga dormitories. And then the person who was being told to build dormitories is now the PS in charge of housing. And they were being instructed by the Deputy President. PS, utajenga doms, siyo ni ya ministry yako. Utaanza lini? You know, so really, whether we like it or not, there is interference by the executive, even in terms of running of civil service.
But yeah, what I wanted to ask is, if you may consider, who sets the tone for how the government functions?
Correct. He's a CEO.
It starts at the top.
Yes,
setting the tone.
Yes, now
he's a CEO sets the tone.
Now, the one that tone has been set.
Yeah.
Everyone falls in line.
Exactly. Yeah.
We've seen it. We saw the tone as was set by Kibaki. It was the interesting one. We saw.
Yeah.
And things that we thought could never happen started happening.
Exactly.
The tone had been set.
Yeah.
And then the people who were in, the ministers, the people who had been given charge of ministries, not only fell in line, but you actually started seeing things moving.
Impact, exactly, yeah.
See?
Yeah.
After how long, City?
Almost immediately.
Actually, the thing that I found remarkable, I didn't understand it then.
When did that happen?
Free primary happened almost immediately.
Oh,
yes.
It was announced.
But remember, folks,
and then there was a whole issue of all teachers, all classrooms and all.
There always are issues. But in the first year, if you remember, President Kibaki did not do any huge development projects.
Exactly.
He actually halted it.
He halted
Everything you're saying.
Correct.
He said, we're not doing anything.
We are continuing with the status quo.
Yeah.
In fact, he completed a lot of projects that that are stalled in Moi's time. Yeah.
Let's see where we are first.
Exactly. Yeah.
After they had gotten and he had put things in place.
Correct.
Then in the second year,
there was an explosion.
Exactly.
There was an explosion.
Prof, I mean, look, I think this is the question, that if we talk about participatory governance, whereby the citizen is actually involved, all these things we can see.
Yes.
It is clear, maybe clearer for some than others.
Right.
But the question still remains that if citizens are to participate in what happens with their country's development, what is it meant to be?
Right.
We can have conversations where we bring these things to the limelight, which I feel is extremely important.
Right.
It plays a critical role in all of this.
Right.
But beyond that, what should Kenyans do?
Look, and it's good that we're actually having this debate, because if you look at it, public participation and participation generally in governance is also dependent, is a duality. On one hand, you've got the right holder, who's the citizen, who needs to be involved and to shape the agenda at all different levels. And that is entrenched in the Constitution, is entrenched in all sorts of different laws. And on the other hand, you actually have the duty bearers, you have government. And you expect the government would then create these meaningful spaces for participation. Of course, when you're making noises here on radio and so on, is part of that. But the main ones, we expect them to actually happen. So look at for example, the issue of the Public Finance Act last time. It was quite interesting because you'd have almost mistaken the process that was taking place as public participation. We saw a lot of debates and so on. And that was happening literally on every single aspect. And a lot of them were not like structured debates. Most of them was government selling. We have there's a difference between salesmanship and participation. I can decide that I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do, and then I sell it to wananchi. And that's what we saw. And the position never changed. In fact, the only test was seeing what is the bare minimum that these people can take. Yeah, but the decision was made a priori that this was going to be done anyway. And what you're seeing is salesmanship, and that's what's happening. And this is eroding public participation, honestly, as was emphasized in the Constitution. What you're seeing is a government that sells, and is a government that sells some of the most unpopular policies and so on. And eventually, and they keep speaking about this. At some point, the few voices that are against this thing just get tired and decide, okay, we shall not respond anymore. The president came to my Twitter space, for goodness sake. That is how serious the salesmanship that was for the tax, the housing tax. That's how serious government was taking the salesmanship on whatever. Instead of saying
for public participation, Prof.
Why can't you let these guys talk and the others talk and the others talk, and then we aggregate the issues, and then we can see what the wananchi want to hear.
Our hour is up.
Professor Architect Alfred Domenya has been our guest this morning. Conversations continue 8 a.m.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
It's critical that people pay taxes. But then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
With politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things right. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
That's what we need.
Spice FM, Malindi.
You tune into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanyan.
Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It gets over.
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes?
What the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself. When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom?
I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting, which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to. She's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
It will be called First Ladies until you change the name.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Chilled Spice.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
Now, I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
And that is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's petty, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Okay, so a few minutes after now, 8 o'clock, but still, we'll not have a traffic issue today. Very little traffic around the city. Folks are moving, but perhaps only in areas where we'll find construction is where it was going to slow down just a little bit, such as coming off of United Nations Avenue for now. Apart from that, I think we should be good, folks. We're going to talk through it just in case, and you can find Spice FM KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 5 minutes after 8. Kenya's biggest conversation gets onto the third hour. And in this hour, we remind you about chai kweli. In this baridi, this one that we are now experiencing in the country, this baridi, the only solution for this baridi is hot cup of chai.
In fact, this is rich, creamy chai kweli weather.
Bas.
This is chai kweli weather.
This is chai kweli weather because once you have it in that cup, that mug, that container, first of all, you start by warming your hands with it.
Yes.
Warm your hands with it, remove your hands, warm your face with your warm hands. Then take your hands back to the cup and then take a sip of that tea. Ha!
Utamu ulioje.
Bwana kwambia dairy best, mambo yote.
Available countrywide is Brookside Dairy Best. That's what we're talking about. It's available countrywide everywhere you go. So you can buy this just single packs. This one, 500 ml. Dairy Best, whole milk, farm fresh, UHT. You can buy it like that. Or you can buy a whole carton. Box.
Yeah, if you like.
12 off.
Packet.
There's a 6, 12 off. You can buy 2, 24. Enda weka kwa nyumba. Everybody who comes in, utakunywa chai? Chai. Utakunywa chai. Ai, na baba nani umemaliza? If we ongezea thamos. Chai.
Maziwa iko.
Maziwa iko. What is the problem? Chai. You know?
Na baba nani.
Oh, yes. Na baba nani na ukunywe chai?
Wamekupea chai kweli.
Wamekupea chai kweli. Chai. Well, we are also giving away some very beautiful Brookside Dairy Best hampers, and we are asking a very easy question. It's a public holiday today, okay? It's a day for planting trees. Now, we want to reward people who are planting trees, okay? And all that. I'm just saying, so who would you like to gift this Brookside Dairy Best hamper? Don't nominate yourself. So today, it's a day for giving. Who would you like to nominate to win this Dairy Best hamper? 2 people. The one with the most compelling reason on why this person should receive the Dairy Best hamper will be picked by our social media man, Mr. Brian Amulioto, and he will tell us whom he is rewarding.
Yep.
That's it.
Who and why?
Who and why? Go to our social media handles, Spice FM KE on YouTube, on Facebook, and on X. Yeah. That's the conversation. And that's where it goes. So we'll be joined by Philip Kisia, who is a governance expert in the country and also who was a former town clerk of the city. We'll be looking again into the President's State of the Nation address and what He missed the hits and the misses of that. And as we wait for him, there's a story that's an interesting one in the Standard today. The Mombasa port expansion pays off as terminals list more cargo. The Port of Mombasa has garnered interest from several leading international shipping lines following its multi-billion shilling infrastructure upgrade. KPA anticipates an increase in cargo with the expansion of its container terminals. Last Friday, the port welcomed a full container vessel from a prominent Italian shipping liner, Ignazio Messina, MV Jolly Argento. The Ignacio Messina operates more than a dozen vessels, both owned and chartered, with a total fleet exceeding 41,000 20-foot equivalent unit containers. The Captain Abdulaziz Mzee, a senior marine at KPA, received the vessel at berth number 22, highlighted this as an opportunity for KPA, emphasizing that the investment in complete full container vessel services is a big one. So what has been happening at the port in terms of expansion is bearing fruit. More and more and more is gonna
come,
and it will come, and it will happen. Sindio? Hi. You have a story to tell us from the papers? I can tell you one as we wait.
Okay, go ahead.
These things in Siaya County are not the politics.
Okay.
It's just not coming to an end.
Okay.
So ODM party leader Raila Odinga is warning Siaya MCAs against an alleged sabotage of the executive. Raila, who was speaking at Awelo grounds in Alego Usonga constituency on Saturday, where he led in the launch of the ODM membership registration drive, urged the MCAs to desist from chaotic scenes which he said were tarnishing the party's image. He asked the elected leaders to shelve their political ambitions and deliver services to their constituents. He told them, 2022 elections are over. We must give time to those elected to deliver instead of engaging in premature campaigns. Apparently, it's because 2 weeks ago, human rights groups in Siaya called on the president to dissolve the county government of Siaya over exceptional matters of poor governance and service delivery. The Siaya County Civil Society Network said the president could dissolve the Governor James Orengo administration by invoking the constitution. The group said the continuous fight between the executive and the assembly over control of budget and tenders was affecting good governance. There's an issue here between the government of Governor James Orengo and the county assembly. County assembly is just not happy with the executive. In fact, they are threatening to impeach a number of CECs, starting with the CEC for finance. And they're saying, CEC for finance, wewe kwanza utakuja hapa. Out. It's issues of, like the civil society group is saying, it's about management of these monies, tenders, and such issues.
I am wondering that did it take, first of all, you must ask the question, what exactly is going on? Yeah. Is it a replication of what we see happening in other counties?
Yeah.
Meru just finished their own. Olelenku is where?
In Kajiado.
That one is happening. Just here across the road, Kiambu, people asking questions. Now we see another thing happening in Siaya. People asking questions concerning the executive. Is it something that we expect to happen just by virtue of the fact that it is individuals who are behind the politics and governance of particular areas? Is it to be expected, or is it really, really politics through and through, and that individual desires are not being met, and that's why you raise issue with the government of the day? Is it normal? Do we expect that? So park that. Then does it require some external force of intervention to come and say, excuse me, you people, should you bring out what we would say are normal, natural political rumblings, you would need us to come and ask you to just relax.
Tone it down. And by virtue of the fact that I am still considered as somebody who holds heavy sway in this area, you would then listen to me. By virtue of the fact that my name is... I am the person of Raila Odinga to be able to come and tell you guys, you know what? Don't even mention the forbidden word. Don't let it come out of your mouths. Don't usurp the powers of the executive because there are some things that you cannot sort out here and there. Would you need something like that to shut down what we would see as almost normal to happen, whereby you have individuals who are in different places of authority? And that don't we expect that because of that, every now and then you'll see these things come up? Are they not natural? Or that is it now being used as a tool, this impeachment thing,
to then remove individuals who are not dancing to a particular tune? And should it be discouraged?
No. The question is, how many counties are there that we see signs of insurrection and signs of turmoil?
If we're doing a count right now, about 5.
Yes, exactly. So we ask the question, the others from whom we do not hear anything, no rumbling, what is it that they are doing?
Maybe they've learned to be able to dance with a partner who's got two left feet,
Yes.
or they've decided they're enjoying this dance as well.
Yes, exactly.
And the person has allowed them to also lead in the dance.
Any narrative that emanates from a political space has to be taken with a pinch of salt. Okay? Whether it is a governor who's doing their own thing and not listening to the county assembly members, or it's the county assembly members who are always looking for some money to come their way and a halt has been put to it. Whatever reason you want to give, all those things may very well be true, since you're talking about a county government. But the question is this, when a new governor comes in, and you've had a governor who's been there for 10 years, do you really have your own government, or do you have that other person's government?
That's a good question.
And if indeed you're trying to bring about change, do you think that change would be welcomed by people who are used to a certain status quo? So what exactly are you seeing? Because you look at a county like Nairobi, you don't hear those rumblings. The majority in the assembly are Azimio. The governor is UDA, but somehow there seems to be a delightful truce that has been arrived at, and people seem to be getting along well.
Yeah.
The pertinent question is, when you hear of groupings such as on this civil society thingy-majig in Siaya, who are they? What do they do? Whose interests do they actually serve? Because those are the questions. Because in the political sphere, there's nothing that just happens. Not possible. No. A group that has existed, a group that has just been created, they're raising issues. Even if the issues which they're raising are pertinent, that question always has to be asked. Whose interests are they serving?
Maybe the public's.
Yes, but that has to be determined. Whether it's the public's interest, whatever it is.
No, okay. Is there a possibility of those interests basically converging with the public interest?
Yes.
Whoever
there's a very, very high possibility.
they represent, if the executive and the county assembly are constantly at loggerheads, like in the case of Meru, all right, where the assembly has vowed, okay, mumerudisha, tutarudisha. Are these two serving the public?
No, they're not.
If any group comes out and says, you know what, maybe the better thing, and we've started seeing those conversations after we started it here. Maybe the better thing would be for everybody in that county government of Meru to go back to the people.
Yes.
And seek fresh mandate. Those that are attuned to the people's needs will find their way back into the executive and the assembly. So maybe it could be the same thing here in Siaya. But what is it about? What's going on here in Siaya? What's going on in Kajiado, for example? Why has the motion of impeachment been tabled against Governor Olelenku in Kajiado? What's going on?
I mean, what exactly has he done, or what has he not done? Because if you remember correctly, there was a governor in Embu called Wambora.
Yeah.
He managed to escape those impeachments.
Yep.
He did. Finish his terms. So the question always was, is it him? Is it the assembly? I mean, what is it? If we go to other counties where we've had rumblings and you've had difficulties, or better still, where you haven't heard even a squeak.
Yep.
Are you then saying that those are the governors who've actually figured how to get along with the MCAs?
And they are performing very well, that even the people would support them.
Yes. Or is it that there are people who understand the sort of politics that actually goes on in a county government? But let me go back to what I said originally. When you take over the job of a governor, and your predecessor had been there for 2 terms, you may be governor, but whose administration are you working with?
Even if you're working with a former governor's administration, I mean, the public service is a constant. So what do you do?
See, the administration that was there...
So you just told us the other time that the one who sets the tone is the one at the top.
It is, but the administration of your predecessor were there for an agenda. Now you come in and you set the tone and you have your agenda.
And you're disrupting that agenda.
Yes, that is the point. When you come in, you set the tone, and now that tone is what now brings pushback.
Bas. All right, our guest is in the studio. Philip Kisia is a governance and leadership expert. He's here with us. Good morning.
Good morning, Eric, and apologies for coming in late. I was right on time.
And then
I found
the trees have been planted.
Your entry was blocked, so I couldn't come in.
We're planting trees.
Planting trees, very good.
Big trees.
Big trees.
All right, I've not seen one, but it's okay.
Happy tree planting day.
I haven't seen one.
Are you planning to plant trees today?
Well, I've always planted trees.
So you answered
I think I
I've
planted trees and I don't need to plant today.
So he's saying he doesn't need a day in order to plant trees. He's been planting trees.
I planted some yesterday, and I plant others next week.
Not today.
So why not today?
What is so special about today?
Wala.
What is so special?
Hawa ndio wale watu tunasemaga watu wa opposition.
What is so special about today? You have just a holiday. We thank God.
It's special for you to plant a tree. Okay, anyway, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah. On matters of governance and all. So are you saying that it wasn't important to set aside a day to put the nation together and say, on this particular day, we are focusing on dedicating ourselves to the importance of greening the country, of the tree planting initiative, of setting a target, of going towards that target, and now that we have rainfall, let's actually take advantage.
Eric, I agree with the principle. Planting trees is something that must be encouraged. In fact, although it appears to be a pipe dream, because planting 15 billion trees, you will have a cover of 22% of the landmass of Kenya. So it's a good dream, it's a good vision. Whether this current administration will achieve it or not is a matter of wait and see. But it's a good dream. Right now, I think our forest cover is about 6%, 7%? 6%.
Exactly. They say they've gained some.
6.
I personally
don't. But even if we got to 10% in another 10 years, I think we'd have done very well, because the international standards are what, city? It's about 10%. So we are saying we'll do better than the international benchmark. We'll get to about 22% forest cover. If we do, then I can tell you we'll be one of the most greened nations in the world.
We won't get people like Philip Kisia.
But you see, Eric, I planted trees and I plant trees every day. But you see, I have fundamental questions to ask about this whole exercise. Was it necessary that you send people home when the economy is doing so badly? You set a day. You just put a cabinet very quickly together on a Friday, and for the sole purpose of declaring today a public holiday. There are so many things that we want to ask. What is being done today that we cannot have done in a week? You don't have to do it in one day. What are the benefits, specific benefits that we're going to derive from today? Because I've come through your office on this floor. It's empty. And I don't think Standard Group will not pay those people for not being here today. They're going to be paid. And they're not being productive. So we've wasted a day just because, to fulfill somebody's desire. I set aside this day and we planted trees. But there are other questions that, if we are serious as Kenyans, would ask. Number one, when was that money budgeted for? When are those seedlings bought? When were they transported to the centers? I mean, I think these things are scam. I think it's a way of just, creating a budget for people to eat. I don't see what we're going to achieve today. We must make tree planting part of our culture. You must plant trees maybe even every week if you have space to plant that tree. If you don't have your public spaces. So let us come up with policies, let us come up with strategies that are sustainable. Just don't just create one day as an avenue of eating, because it's just eating.
But surely,
what are they going to achieve today?
Philip,
it's so uncoordinated. People don't know where to collect. Now we are being told yesterday by the PS in charge of interior
of trees
that go to the chiefs to collect.
Yes.
The other day, the Minister for Environment said, "Oh, get your own tree and plant."
Yes.
They are so uncoordinated.
No.
The same cabinet, the same government.
Go to the chief.
Go to the chief.
Those want to plant their own tree.
The CS is saying, "Oh, plant your own tree. Get your own tree. Get your own seedling."
But Philip,
come on,
Philip.
Let us be serious as Kenyans.
I think we are serious, and
No,
I actually think that setting a day is a good thing. You know why? We are taking this thing seriously, and we are giving a day for it, so that we know. You see, when you have a day dedicated to this one thing, you're not being told go and climb Kilimanjaro, Lukenya. You're being told plant a tree. It brings to focus the need to plant trees. That is the truth.
Just let us make it a culture.
Yeah, but we've started.
You don't need one specific. You see, are we going to have it every year?
Why not?
Are we going to have it every year?
Why not?
Split ranting?
Yes, why not? So that every year we can
plant trees today and tomorrow.
Philip, so that every year we can audit and see the trees we planted a year ago, where have they gotten to?
Yeah.
Have we met? Because you're talking about those billions. You really do need to target a specific day when you're doing the audit of what you're doing. It is important.
No.
If the trees are important,
the
next thing.
Yes. I said I agree with the principle. We need to plant trees. We need to make it part of our culture.
Yes.
And you know, putting a seedling in the soil, if you're saying let's put seedlings in the soil today and that ends, then you're not doing anything. It must be part of our culture. Who is going to nurture that tree?
But if we're going to
who is going to own that tree?
Philip, in as much as I agree with what you're saying, one of the things that we talk about, if we're going to say it must be embedded in culture, oftentimes you need somebody who's going to be the flag bearer of that thing and say, look, how about we spur you on? There need to be markers whereby you say, in order for this to say that we will adopt this, it's very important to say, let us have, almost as though you're saying, let's have you almost force it to be.
Take a break, everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody take a break. This is it.
This is it.
We want to plant trees.
And now we say, can we see how it will work out? And now let's all get into this thing where it becomes part of a national culture of doing things, because we have seen the destruction that lack of trees and foliage causes when it comes to severe drought. That in as much as in your heart you kind of know, it's important too, but if you see it happening on a national level, the chances of you picking it up as an individual in your space then become greater.
And on this day, if you actually get to that target of 100 million trees, imagine if 100 million tree seedlings are planted today. That's a good start. And then you talk about now growing those trees.
Nurturing those trees.
Nurturing those trees that have been planted.
I say that I don't disagree.
Okay.
But I'm just disagreeing
with the day.
No, with how it is being done. Making something a culture becomes part of you, part of your life. That you don't wait for a day. When is today? Is it 13th?
Yes.
Yes.
In fact, a bad day. I'm told 13th is not a very good day. But
it
anyway,
has to be on a Friday for it to be a bad day. Today's okay if it's on Monday.
Allow the man in superstition.
Okay, sorry.
For heaven's sake. Monday the 13th is a bad day.
The number 13 is bad.
So long as it's 13.
Philip.
Why they settled for 13th, I don't know.
Okay.
Yes.
But I agree, let us plant trees, but let us make it part of us, part of our culture.
But how do you make it
so
part?
that you don't just decide that, you know what,
Philip,
we can easily create a budget, a good budget.
How do you make it
to
part
spend?
How do you make it part of our culture?
From the day you are born, that must be inculcated in you.
How?
The importance of in schools, in communities. Yeah. You don't have to wait for one day, one national day, or one, declare one public holiday and say, let's plant trees.
Philip,
that is a waste of public resources.
What's your beef with this day? Because
we can do many other things.
No.
People can come to work.
Philip,
people
what
can
is
come
your
to
beef?
work. People
What
can
is your
come to
beef
work
with this day?
Now, Standard Group is going to pay people who have not been productive.
No, you've
They
come
have planted trees.
People are coming.
They are not productive. They're at home, resting.
You've come, but
they're planting trees.
They're planting trees.
Yes.
Are they?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Which is a productive
I want
thing
to
for
see
the
them.
country.
How many seedlings were you given? You have a lot of space here.
But why must I be given a seedling in order to plant?
No, come on.
Kila
Not
mtu ako na
you
chief
can
wake.
afford. But what about those people
But
who can
seedlings
afford?
are not expensive. It's
Oh
not
my
like-
God.
Anyway,
My
let's move
City.
from this conversation. It's
City.
okay. We get your point.
Oh my.
we
Oh
hear
my,
you.
City.
We
There are
hear
people
you.
who cannot afford. I was talking to an MP yesterday, and he told me, now, you know that Gorogoro is now 100 bob, maize. Now, to take it to a portion mill, you need 20 shillings. So that 20 shillings are talking, a seedling, a good seedling is, I think, about 50 bob. People don't even have 20 shillings to take their maize,
to
a portion
Kisiagi.
mill. 20 shillings.
To convert it into unga.
Convert to unga. So forget about seedlings. Let's feed our people first.
Okay.
Seedlings are important.
The
but,
president appeared in Parliament
guys
last week.
Guys are suffering.
We invited you so we can look at the president's State of the Nation address. Required by the Constitution to do so.
Yes.
And he went in accordance with the Constitution and he delivered the reports to Parliament and he handed them over to Parliament. And of course, he gave us an abridged version in the speech. What are the hits? What are the misses, in your opinion? Let's start with the hits.
Man, I really struggled. Even this morning, again, I really struggled because I wanted to be very objective. I woke up fairly early.
You struggle with objectivity normally?
I wanted to be objective.
Okay.
I wanted to be objective. And I've always been. So I went, as I was going through the state of address, power went off.
Okay, and on the 13th,
This superstition is just...
Power went off.
the bad omen. Yes.
But anyway, I was able to think. I think one or two things that made some little sense. I think has made some strides, some little strides in education. Of course, there are a lot of minuses. Let's give him some credit in terms of security. He's been able to deal with bandits to some extent. He's put some fear. I don't know if it's sustainable, but he's done something.
Fear in the bandits.
He has put some fear. I mean, he's been fairly ruthless. That one we must give it to him. But I can tell you, I was expecting him not to start lamenting. That speech is full of lamentation. Oh, we took the economy, we took this one, geopolitics. Now, tell us what, as a president, you've done with the mandate we gave you, with the resources we've given you in the last 12 months. When I read that report, or a state of address,
State of the Nation.
State of Nation. State of Nation. I see, okay, the only thing I could see that by the time Uhuru borrowed 6.7 billion, him in 1 year he has borrowed 1.7 billion. I mean, that's what I could see.
Trillion.
What trillion?
Yes,
1.7 trillion.
It's trillion, yes. No.
In a year, 1.7 trillion.
Yes.
Okay? Now, what else is in that speech that is useful? That speech lacked, it doesn't excite anybody. It doesn't, it doesn't give us hope. You've mentioned a few names. I met CT, and I talked about to CT. He's on the Mujengo site, and he's what all. Then I picked one of my pet areas in that speech: housing. This administration, just like his predecessor, his former boss, and when I told the team, you cannot build 500 or 1 million units in a year, and I gave reasons. Then they stepped down to 500,000 quietly, and nobody asked, even the media. Then they kept quiet. They said, we're going to build houses. Now, William Samoei Ruto comes and says, I am going to build, is it 250 houses per year? 250,000 houses, units per year. Yeah. 250,000. I think in his address, there are 50,000. I don't know where those 50,000 units are, but he says there are 50,000 units. Okay? Then he talks about that this program is successful because he's been able to create employment. Is that sustainable? Because the housing gap, even if he is able to build 250 units per year, is that sustainable? Because it will get to a point where it gets saturated. Even right now, where is the uptake? Supposing he's able to build 250,000 units per year, where is the uptake?
So now,
where is the uptake?
In his speech,
he
said,
in my own view, in my view, I don't know about yours, but I didn't find anything exciting. He talks about agriculture, the price of coffee. My wife is a coffee farmer, and I spoke to her yesterday. She's in the farm. Okay, what is only going out is the expenses. She had 70 people yesterday picking coffee. They are being paid. I don't know whether we'll make any money this coming year when she eventually sells her coffee in the international market. Because where the markets, nothing has changed. We have Rigi G going to Colombia, taking photographs and saying that he's now found new market. Where are these markets? We want to know. And if
you harvest your coffee, we'll show you. Let's take a break. 26 minutes to 9. Time for us to take that break. Philip Kisia is a governance and leadership expert. He's our guest this morning. We are talking about the State of the Nation address by the President and what he told Parliament and told the country. What are the hits? What are the misses? Philip, time for us to have some chai. Chai kweli is only chai with a lot of milk. And a lot of milk is a lot of milk of Brookside Dairy Best milk. Citizen kweli?
Nothing could be truer than that. In fact, if you really want to enjoy what you call Kenyan tea, yes, Philip, if you really want to enjoy, and this is Kenyan tea weather, from Dairy Best.
Kwanza after people have come from the shamba, they are picking the coffee. Tell mama, wapatie chai.
I agree. She's very generous. She always gives her people chai in the morning. So I'll encourage her to use Brookside.
Very good.
Well done, Philip. Thank you.
Very good. All right. We are giving away 2 hampers. Ndu?
Yes.
What do we have to do?
So what you need to do, tell us on our socials. That's the Spice FM KE, whether it is you're on Facebook or you're on X or even here on YouTube. Tell us, who would you nominate to win a Brookside hamper today and why? Why? Who would you nominate and why? Let us know, and our man Amlioto will pick who those are at the end of the show today.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
We love to share our cultures, and the one thing that unites us all, that celebrates precious moments, nurtures our Kenyan spirit, welcomes and even inspires. Our language does all of this and more. The more the milk, the better the chai. Chai kweli in a Brookside Dairy Best.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
So who's a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
windows
sleep inside.
Up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, we're looking at cloudy conditions still with rain coming down in Nairobi, highs of 22 and lows of 15. 15 will be the low in a partly sunny Nakuru with highs of 22, and we'll see highs of 22 as well in Nyeri, currently at 17. It is 16 in Eldoret. We'll see highs of 23, and we're looking into a sunny Mombasa at 27 and a partly sunny Malindi at 28. Kisumu this morning is cloudy at 24 and cloudy conditions at 21 in Kakamega. Out in Kampala, the rain keeps coming down at 20 and it's sunny at 25 in Dar es Salaam. Johannesburg 17 and sunny, while Mogadishu is sunny at 28. Addis Ababa is sunny at 16. Lagos clear at 26 with cloudy conditions in Kinshasa at 24.
Chilled Spice.
All right, so we're looking at really good in terms of movement in the city today. But then let's look at United Nations Avenue. That's what's packing up this morning. The construction continues. The rain coming down kind of slows things because we're looking at one narrow road while that goes on. So we will see some of that as it jumps out then at Limuru Road. Apart from that, you should be able to get in and out of the city without an issue at all. Let's just watch out for that space and talk on Spice FM KE on X.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Conversation continues with Philip Kisia. Philip, you're saying you want to be objective.
Yes.
And
I've always been.
In dissecting the president's speech,
yes,
the State of the Nation address,
absolutely,
and looking at the various things that he spoke about. He spoke about, for example, the cost of living, and he said these are the measures. The cost of living is a real issue facing the country, and we've got to put in measures that are not just short term, but also medium to long term. And this is what we need to do. We need to look at our production. We need to look at how we can support our farmers, how we can help our farmers get there. He spoke about that. He spoke about the state of the economy. And he said, you know what? The truth of the matter is we, for a long time, have been living beyond our means. And this is what he said. As I told Kenyans on my first day in office, times were difficult and many people are struggling, and necessary and effective sustainable solutions are urgently needed. We must admit that as a country, we had been living large and way beyond our means. Time has come, therefore, to retire the false comforts and illusory benefits of wasteful expenditure and counterproductive subsidies on consumption by which we dug ourselves deeper into the hole of avoidable debt. The new direction may not be easy, but it is ethical, responsible, prudent, and most importantly, necessary. We've had to take hard decisions and make painful choices because we owe to Kenyans to do the right thing and confront facts as they are without flinching or equivocating. We have worked hard at home and further abroad to mobilize a broad coalition of bilateral development partners, multilateral development banks, and other agencies which have rallied to pull our country back from the brink of debt distress and to set us firmly on the path towards sustainable economic growth. He says, we now have friends who can lend us cheaper than those other friends who are lending us very expensively.
Did those friends come to us to give us money? Did we go to them?
We went to them.
And when we went to them, we didn't know they were expensive.
No.
Now we suddenly figured out that they're cheaper.
That's what he's talking about. In the past, we were just living
and this living large. Have you been living large, you, Eric?
This government has been living recklessly large. The government has been living large.
You see, Eric, beautiful statement.
No, that's
no. Once I can see it is a beautiful statement. But what is on the ground? What is the reality? There is a disconnect between what President Ruto is talking about and what is really happening. He has talked about increasing production.
Yes.
And he mentioned a few measures that he has put in place to support farmers to improve production.
Yes.
One is the cost of fertilizer.
Yes.
Okay, as an input.
Yes.
But if you're a farmer, maybe you're not. You're born in the city. The city and myself, we have some village connection. We will tell you that the cost of production could be decreased to a certain extent if fertilizer was subsidized.
Okay.
We don't disagree. But the other factors.
Which are?
Immediately you increase the cost of, oil. And farmers use a lot. Cost of oil.
Yes.
Immediately the cost of living goes up. The cost of labor. And labor takes about, in farming, probably 40% of your cost. So what has he done to reduce the cost of living so that when you are deploying labor, the laborers don't expect a certain, wage that even a farmer cannot sustain.
Philip.
So 40%,
Are you
40% has not, there's nothing that has been done to deal with the 40%. You've dealt with about maybe 20-25%.
Are you
of the
saying
cost. And then
that the benefit in the
and
cost,
then-
in the lowering of the cost
let
of
me tell
fertilizer
you,
has
and then
been
even that
wiped
fertilizer-
out by the other
Yes,
factors?
completely wiped out. And
Is that
then,
what you're saying?
worst of all, that fertilizer did not reach most of the farmers. It reached certain areas. Certain areas. I can tell you, and I told you, we are farmers. We are coffee farmers. We never saw that fertilizer. So where did that fertilizer go to? I am told certain areas of this country
To the
got
maize
fertilizer.
farmers,
Certain areas, others didn't get. So are you saying other people are Kenyans and others are not Kenyans? But anyway, let us get to the issues.
Philip, let me ask
He
you.
talked about
before we move into those ones.
Eh,
Let's
no,
actually
let me
address
just
the,
land.
the farmer issue.
Let me-
right?
yeah, sorry.
On the
Okay.
farmer
Yes.
farmer issue, there are farmers who received subsidized fertilizer.
Some.
Yes,
Okay.
some
Yes,
farmers.
some.
All right.
Yes.
Are we saying that the subsidy for the price reduction in fertilizer was wiped out by the price increase in oil?
Of course.
So are you saying that
Of
there
course.
was no benefit at all to the farmer?
Almost zero. Almost zero.
That the cost of production
Almost
of maize
zero.
in that season compared to previous
I
seasons
have
is the
said,
same?
and you can go and check, labor in farming is almost 40%. So if the cost of labor is not manageable, the farmer is not making money.
Where do you get? Are you getting this from talking to a maize farmer who received the fertilizer?
am a farmer.
subsidized- But you did
I'm
not
a
receive
farmer.
the subsidy. You
Where? We never got any.
Yes, I'm
I
saying,
have underspoken to a number of farmers. They never saw that fertilizer.
you're a coffee farmer, but
Of course.
we're
It's a
giving
cash crop.
subsidy to,
And I
to
can
maize
tell you,
farmers.
and I can tell you, even maize. And we stopped farming maize in 2006 because I'm telling you, it's a loss-making venture. You don't make money and if you look at again, the farmers are being forced to sell maize at a lower price. I think now it's about 3,200. Go and check how much the National Cereal Board is buying maize produced by the Kenyan farmers. Just go and check. You'll be shocked.
And
then look at the cost of producing that bag. It's a loss-making venture. So when you say you've subsidized farmers by being selective, giving a few farmers subsidized fertilizer, and the majority of farmers are not getting it, I mean, it's a scam. It's a total scam. Then, you talk
I
about...
would have gone with those words if you were actually telling me you spoke to X number of
I have
maize
spoken
farmers.
to farmers. And
this
I
is
come
what-
from Trans Nzoia. I come from Trans Nzoia, and that is the
the
maize
bread
basket. Okay? And I've spoken to farmers. Most of them never saw that subsidized maize. And then the fertilizer.
Philip.
Who was receiving it? Where was it taken?
Can I ask you a question, Philip? In your analysis, in your talks, and the things is there anything that this government has done that you can consider to be good?
I'm struggling. I'm really struggling to see what good so far has been done. I'm struggling.
Completely.
I'm struggling. People are in pain. Everybody's in pain.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but everybody's in pain.
I'm in pain, but
90% in fact, 95% of Kenyans are in pain. In fact, the only people who are not in pain are probably top government officials, because the president talks about managing, living large, yet he's living large. His government is living large. If you are to be serious, do you need to invest in capex? And capex, I'm talking about things like motor vehicles, gasolers, buying motor vehicles for people for 40 million shillings. Are we crazy? Using public funds. We are just moving in Nairobi, or even moving. Can't you use a Land Rover? Must you use a vehicle costing the public 40 million shillings, 25 million, 30 million shillings? Of what benefit are these vehicles to Kenyans? Can't we use the vehicles which Uhuru Kenyatta's administration was using? If it was your own money, city, would you be spending that money on things like motor vehicles? Look at travel. The president himself talked about taking austerity measures. Yet in 1 year, my friend, my president, has traveled 37 foreign trips.
Is that a bad thing?
If you look at a developed nation, developed, not underdeveloped like us, look at America. The president of the United States makes about 20 to 25 foreign trips in a term. Look at look at UK. Look at Japan.
Yeah, but if they are developed, they don't need to travel. We are the ones.
Exactly. You are a beggar. You are spending money. You are talking about austerity. Austerity means you only use money that you must really use. You cut down what is not necessary. Must you make 37 foreign trips? And I can tell you, when a president makes a trip, it's not like you going to Kisumu. It is a serious.
What is this man saying?
That you don't go wind assisted. For the president, you city.
No, it's a serious matter. It is a serious matter. You know, if we were to audit that account, and by the way, I don't have a problem with the head of state making these trips.
You don't?
Where is the report when you come back? Because in private sector like here, you top guys, when you are sent, you go on a trip, first of all, you must justify why that trip is necessary. You must justify. It must be in your plan. You can't just wake up and say, no, now I think I must feel good. I want to travel to Nakuru. It must be in your business plan. And when you come back, you must file a report and say, yes, these are the objectives were met. People just go on
But
trips.
you just talked about
People
those
go
things.
on trips in this country. They come back. The only thing they received at the airport and with some guys just, I don't know, they smile or whatever they are doing, but they are received.
Philip, every time the president travels out, let's just be objective here.
I am.
Before he travels out, there is an advisory that's released, actually by the State House spokesperson. The president is due to head to this country for this kind of meeting. He'll have this side of bilateral meetings and talks. When they're there, we see communication. The president has witnessed the signing of this kind of deal, this kind of agreement. He's held this meeting, he's attended this and that meeting. And when he comes back, there's that report. Now, you want him to say, when I went, I came back and we got a 10 billion shillings.
You see,
some of those things you'll realize later.
No, Nani,
when you attend the meeting.
Let's take this a trip to China.
Okay.
Let's say China.
Yes.
Is the best example. The Prime Minister for Ethiopia went, had side meetings, had bilateral, not China, the Prime Minister for Ethiopia, Abiy. He can justify that trip. He came back with SGR. Money from the Chinese government. He came back with something. What did Kenyans come back with? Other than money from Huawei, some little money, I don't know, 30 billion, 30 billion came with Huawei. How much,
Was it not?
30 billion from Huawei.
There was signing of a pact between a a Chinese company and the Concert Technopolis. Okay?
Okay.
We saw that.
Does that need a president? Does that type of assignment require a head of state?
He was there, he witnessed.
I'm not asking you a question,
There was
Eric.
conversation.
Does it require a head of state?
There was conversation.
Can you send your minister?
About
meeting
SGR.
a CEO of a private
There was
company.
conversation
Huawei.
about SGR. There was conversation about the pending road projects that are to be completed. Pending road project signed, needing to complete for completion.
Which ones are these?
I don't know. But
Which one? Which roads? No, let's say there are many.
You are the one. Eric talked about there are reports which are filed back.
I cannot tell you the 25 kilometer.
You are respected. We respect you, Eric. Those reports that were filed back. Which road,
Philip?
Which road is the Chinese government going to fund? And it is in the public domain. We all know that this particular administration said we shall shut out China. And I suspect when they went out, China gave them a cold shoulder.
No.
I suspect.
No.
I suspect.
Based on what?
But Philip,
The relationship is not cordial. Come on, let's be serious.
Not really. I cannot speak about the relationship.
It is not cordial.
The relationship with this administration?
What informs that? For example, what have we seen that would inform
You
that?
see, when, I like punching from the hip. You see, when this administration took over, they had no kind words for the East, and particularly China. And they demonized each and everything that Uhuru Kenyatta had done with the East, and in particular China. Now, they are on their steering wheel, and they have discovered that you may not make significant progress without support from the East, and particularly China.
You're aware?
In the last 12 months, 13 months, in the last 12, 13 months, show me a facility that has been signed between the Kenyan government and China.
See, we've just talked about one, Konza.
And even about the roads. And the roads which are being completed, yes.
You see, when
Philip,
when private firms
that
sign
private
firms sign
Philip,
agreements.
Just a minute. You're aware, I hope, that in this 1 year of the Kenya Kwanza administration, there have been senior Chinese delegations that have come into the country and met with the president, including the person who is currently a very senior figure in the Communist Party.
Okay.
Right? Delegations sent by President Xi Jinping to meet with President William Ruto. That's not a cold shoulder treatment between those two countries.
You see,
not at all.
You see,
the president went to China on the invitation of the president of China.
I am not here, to praise anybody.
That's clear.
But Uhuru Kenyatta, at least, whether they could have eaten half of that money, but there's an SGR running from Nairobi, from Mombasa to Naivasha. Okay? I was expecting that when President Ruto was in China with a huge delegation, we would have now got money to move it from Naivasha to where a city comes from, and maybe to Malaba, and so on and so forth. It is stuck in Naivasha.
Dukamoja.
There is no money to take it to Kisumu and to Malaba, and so on and so forth. That's what I expected. Uhuru Kenyatta, at least, people talk, they could have eaten money, I don't know. I was not part of the Uhuru Kenyatta government, but this road has really saved, because it took me, other than your entry being blocked, from my house in Lavington to here, it took me 10 minutes. You can see there's something. You can see.
That's not the government of China. The expressway.
You can see
China is a private investment.
It doesn't matter.
Chinese company.
You can see the things that were done.
Philip, let me just ask you a question.
You can see.
Let me ask you a straightforward question. What beef do you have with this government? Because you clearly have a beef.
Which beef?
I don't know. I want you to tell me.
No beef. I can tell you. I'm a Kenyan. Why should I have beef with my own country?
I have a beef, and I can tell you if you ask me.
I have no. You see, the problem is, people expect you to cover the truth. If we are doing well, city, I can assure you, I'll come here and tell you we are doing well. But if you are doing badly, my job is to tell the king you are naked, and you're completely naked.
Okay.
That is my job.
Philip, what would it
I will
look
not garnish anything.
Sure.
I'm not here to garnish.
That's
because how do I
understandable.
benefit?
That's understandable, Philip. But what would it look like, for example, if things were going well? What would you look at and say, actually, this is a step in the right direction that you would then be able to pull upon?
Low-hanging fruits. What explanation do you have? All your neighbors are reducing the cost of fuel, and you're citing the war between Russia and Ukraine.
No.
I'm just saying
it's Israel and Palestine.
Israel and Palestine.
Yes.
Okay? Because now Russia and India was about wheat.
Okay. Yes, please.
So why your neighbors, immediate neighbors, including a landlocked country, is reducing the cost of fuel.
Okay, so lower cost of fuel.
Okay.
What else would we look at? Yeah.
When Kibaki took over, in the first 100 days, free primary education. The reverse is happening with this administration. The cost of school fees, the fees has gone up. We were promised free secondary. I don't know if it's happening. I don't have, university fees is going, everything is going up. There is nothing that is coming down. Taxes, getting out of the window. I don't know, maybe you guys don't pay tax, but people are, I mean,
is there anybody in this country who doesn't pay tax?
When you have an administration sitting, when you have an administration that refuses to recognize the fact that there are certain things that are a right to a citizen, an ID is a right. You want to charge somebody has come from school 1,000 shillings or 2,000 shillings for replacement of you. People who want young children who don't even have nowadays we don't even take dowry. I don't know whether people we don't take because you don't want to put the young couple into pain. This government is saying if you want to get married, we are going to put you through pain because we are going to demand for dowry.
Okay,
where does this happen?
Time is over.
Where does this thing happen?
Hey,
where does it happen? Only in Kenya. Only in Kenya. They are asking you, you have no job, you want to start a family, and the government, your own government, is putting you through pain. We stopped asking for, as parents, we stopped asking for dowry. We have a government asking for dowry by force. You pay 100,000 shillings to get married.
Aye.
My God.
Philip Kiss here.
Oh my God. What is happening?
He's a governance and leadership expert. He's been the guest. Keep it here for more conversations. In the next hour, we talk about Africa and African leadership. 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. .4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
When you're impeached, you're impeached. When you're sentenced, you're sentenced.
Madam Chief Justice.
Until the sentence is set aside.
Ukibeba vitu kwa roho utakufa. If you carry things in your heart, you will die.
The reason for which you went to school and then gathered experience, that reason must be paid for.
All right.
Okay.
This level.
Shape up or ship out.
Levels don't change.
No.
It's about shipping out.
You're my business partner here.
Shipping out.
Are we talking about the ship in the bathtub? Or
the ship man?
Emmanuel Talabu used to tell us a story of they were in school and they'd been told to write composition about a ship. His classmate raises a hand. Teacher, are you talking about a ship or a ship goat?
Chilled Spice.
You tuned into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanyang.
Amen. Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. It gets over.
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes?
What the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself. When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom? I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting, which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to, she's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, so still there, coming off United Nations Avenue, you're going to look at that road coming off of Karura. That's what's going to slow down considerably. Getting through towards Muthaiga and then touching on Limuru Road. That's where it's slow. Apart from that, nothing else going on this morning. Traffic is going to, I think, be all right for most parts of today, since our folks are up and about planting trees and what not. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on X through the morning. and we'll keep things moving.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your
Situation Room this Monday, the 13th day of November 2023. Happy Tree Planting Day. And make sure at least do something about it. All right? Despite all the negativity and all the politics around it, it doesn't actually harm to plant trees. We need to green our country. It's important. And also it's important for you to think about gifting somebody today. And that's why Brookside Dairy Best is saying, I've got some hampers I want to give away.
Absolutely. So who would you give a hamper to this morning and why would you do that? So nominate the person who, you think would enjoy this, or why would they? Nominate that person and tell us why, and then you can send that message on our socials, Spice FM KE on X, Spice FM KE on Facebook, Spice FM KE on YouTube. Yes.
Kabisa. Lito will be doing that, so make sure that you keep posting all your nominees on our social media handles. We have a new guest who's joining us now. He is the community organizer of Kongamano la Mapinduzi, Mwalimu Mutemi Wakama. Happy Tree Planting Day.
Happy Miti Day.
Thank you. Siku ya kupanda miti.
Ndio hiyo.
Yeah.
Have you made your plans on tree planting?
That's a good question. But even
give us a good answer.
This holiday kind of caught me off guard.
Why?
Because I think, was it on Monday last week?
Yeah.
Or Tuesday around there, that I saw it on social media that there's a holiday, and then we saw the notice. And I think it reflects the topic we're having around leadership, because I think this was a knee-jerk reaction. Had it been planned earlier on and trees made available, appropriate trees, maybe then it would make sense. I don't know. I still don't know what to think about today.
You just don't know.
I don't know. Like, I'm not surprised. There are a lot of allegations flying around that some dollars have come in, and we need to show. We promise that you're gonna plant 15 billion trees, and so actually, and then of course, I think tomorrow we expect fuel to go up, so we needed to give people a holiday. There are all manner of things.
Ease them into it slowly.
But the unfortunate thing is that was it a genuine, or had it been a genuine initiative, then plans would have been done quite early, months ago, Yeah, so
that's what one always hopes, isn't it?
Expects, not hopes, because I don't think, Eric, you wake up and come to this office based on hope. It's because you have a job, you have certain deliverables to your employer, and that means there has to be a plan. I didn't just happen to come to this show. You guys sat in some editorial meeting with your producer Edna and maybe your boss ICT. Welcome. Hi.
Jambo sana.
And then maybe and then planned your show, planned your day, today Monday, and invited me, and then created the invite, the graphic to inform the public. There was a mpango. You don't just wake up and say, today we are going to plant trees, next week on Monday it's a public holiday.
There's Mpango. If you watch, you'll see when the president is at Kew Wetlands, you will see very many tree seedlings. It will be planned. There will be a plan. When the governors and ministers are going across the country in all the other places, you will see there'll be a plan.
And I'll say,
I'll
say like you said, it's not a bad thing to plant trees, and it's raining. But then when you go deeper into it, planting trees or greening a country is not just about waking up and planting trees. You have to know which trees for which area. You have to know how you mix. For example, when you're planning an ecosystem, and if you speak to a landscaper or a gardener, you don't just plant. For example, I'm sure they'll be planting some of these. They're called what? This pine something.
Eucalyptus.
The ones that are very easy. They grow very fast, and and then. A lot of it, if you read some of the criticism in the ecological movement around tree planting, is that a forest grows in a certain way, a mixture of shrubs, trees, different.
That's why they call it an ecosystem.
It's an ecosystem, and so it requires planning. It's not just waking up and there's an empty field there. Let's plant. I don't know what. And Mheshimiwa Rais is a botozoist, I think. He has is he a PhD?
Plant ecology.
Yeah,
that is his PhD.
So we'd expect better leadership. We'd expect mpango. Alisema kuna mpango.
Okay.
Na sioni kama kuna mpango.
Well, Siti, Kompango. Why don't you give Mwalimu the day's proverb?
Yes, and let's see what he makes of it.
Yes.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week come from DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. Okay?
Congo Kinshasa.
Well, I see you suffer the same.
King what?
King what?
King, you know what it is. Woe to the high-spirited bride whose mother-in-law is still alive.
Mwalimu?
Woe unto the high-spirited bride whose mother-in-law is still alive. So I think this mother-in-law thing has been, in the West, it's been overhyped. But I do think, Oedipus complex says a man's first love is his mother. So don't come and compete with my mother. Might not. It would be good for you to, if I've my mother. Let's say I'm getting married in my 20s, and you've come from a certain space, you've come from a certain other family, and you've come into my family. It would be prudent for you to take time and study the environment before you can find your equilibrium and space. I guess that's what. Mpango, kuwa na mpango, and then try and win over the mother-in-law. Don't compete with her, because she knows your son.
Your husband.
Your husband. She has known.
She knows him better than you do.
Quite a lot of time. A long time. Yes.
Do?
Yes.
So don't start the wars.
Enough said. Tuseme kitu.
Usianze vita from the word go.
Usikuja na ujuaji. Hii bomba iko na wenyewe.
Kuna karabati huko.
Bomba iko na wenyewe. All right. Mwalimu, we invited you here so we can talk, about our continent, Africa, and the leadership that we see in our continent, Africa. So first of all, were you in Makueni on Thursday?
No, unfortunately, I couldn't make it. But I wish I could have made it. Yes.
This was the launch of the Africa Leadership. What's it called?
Institute.
Pan-Africa Leadership Institute. Yes. Being spearheaded very much by Professor PLO Lumumba. And the guest of honor was a firebrand, Julius Malema. He came there and he said very many things about leadership across the continent. He even touched on our leadership in our own country, and very many things that have been said. If you, from your perspective, looking at the leadership in Africa over the many years of Africa as an independent country, independent countries.
But countries, it's good to.
Yes.
That's what we want.
Do you think we have had a majority of good visionary leadership, or is it a majority of leadership that is wanting?
Historically and contextually, we have to look at the state, the colonial state or colonial extractive state, and how it came to be, and what was there before. Just to delve into the CIC Malema's speech and the reactions. Part of it is that we are still a colonial extractive state. Kenya, Uganda, wherever, we are still colonial extractive states. These states were created for a specific purpose. And we got independence but never dismantled that state. And in that state, our forefathers, my grandfather and others, Africans, were culturalized and socialized not to ask questions or not to criticize the elders. So that's the reaction of to CIC Malema's speech. And part of the quagmire we face as Kenyans and Africans, and I think that's a struggle. Even I was looking at the comments when you're having your previous guests, and some people are quite scandalized that guy had Mr. Kisi had the audacity to criticize the president, because we assume that once you get into a leadership space, you don't question. But the context is we had colonial governments, and our previous leadership organized themselves. Our independence leaders, a lot of them, there were those who went to the forests, those other spaces, lobbying spaces, organized themselves to gain independence for Africa, and they came together and they said, unless we unite, we don't operate from our silos, our pockets, come together in a Pan-African movement, we cannot defeat this empire. And that's what led to the independence from around late 50s all the way to, I think, Zimbabwe, then South Sudan, I think the last one. But the British one was around 1980s when Zimbabwe finally got its independence. So that movement, those people came with a vision. They were very visionary, and they imagined, they said, we need a united Africa where people can move freely, goods can move freely, ideas can move freely. With one passport, borders, the visas that we see around, they wanted them out. Single currency, single military, and preferably a single, federal government. And they tried to push that agenda after independence. And I'm using independence in quotes because I don't think we are independent. We got what is called flag independence. And the visionary ones were taken out one way or the other. Nkrumah, who was among the leading lights at that time, was somewhere abroad when a military coup happened in Ghana, and Kotoka took over. We know about the Sankaras and the Lumumbas and others who all, were pushing that agenda of a united Africa. Same agenda that CIC Malema was pushing the other day. Same Malema, an organization I'm in the leadership of called Africans Rising, where I'm a co-chair, which is a movement of Pan-African movements, is campaigning for a borderless Africa. And we want Africans to imagine what it would be like if I wanted to eat fufu, to have it tomorrow in my door, and what it takes to do that. Right now, if you try to import anything from Nigeria, to be like pulling teeth, or to fly to Burkina Faso, you might have to fly to Europe, stay there for 2 days, and then connect. If you are lucky, you find a flight to Burkina Faso, because if it does not make business sense for you, most of the flights that fly there, they'll not go there. So, but you should be able to drive. But if you try to drive from here through Uganda, whatever, to Burkina Faso, it's going to be a hassle. So we had visionary leadership, but then somewhere along the way, today, when I look around, do I see any? Maybe one or two. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you look at the visions of people, I mean, look, people talk about them with a lot of controversy. But if you look at things that, the late Muammar Gaddafi spoke about, it lends to some of the things that you're speaking today. Things that he fought for with the original idea of the Organization for African Unity, and then said about how leadership with ideas needed to start from Africa, and they needed to have solutions that were for Africa. We had people, again, a lot of times the controversy surrounding some of these individuals now would say, well, because there's controversy, then why do we speak of it? The late President Moi spoke about African solutions for African problems. Again, the young ones of Kwame Nkrumah visa to come into Kenya.